Chapter 7:13. Go to the most expensive place to eat. That way you can show off your wealth. Order 2 servings, eat one and throw the other away? Sure, I also want to get rich. When are you going to treat me? Anytime. I won't go to that kind of place to treat you. I'll go to your place. You can cook for me. Okay. Okay. Yi Er agreed without hesitation. The two of them didn't drive. Instead, they walked and looked for high-end restaurants. Jiang Zhao felt that this was actually a good thing. Yi Er didn't have to act like a yes-man in front of him anymore. Instead, he had to think of ways to please her. Was she finally relaxed? Just like now, when she was happy, she would spin around. Under the streetlights, her smile was like the sun during the day. It made the streetlights pale in comparison. Finally, she didn't have those serval smiles anymore. Her black hair continued to grow. He still had a bunch of her hair. At that time, her hair was like withered grass. It was much longer than it was now. The days passed quickly. After Yi Er woke up, she called the dance studio to ask about the progress of the TV station. Everything was fine. During this process, no one knew that she was injured and hospitalized. Even Xiaoya thought that she had gone abroad. She even called Jiang Zhao and scolded Jiang Zhao for not letting his wife contact her. The shooting didn't lead to the murderer. The Ouyang Yin was gang-raped and committed suicide. Zhuang Yichen had his own way of cutting off clues. No one connected the two incidents together. Naturally, no one would think that the Ouyang Yan's death was due to Jiang Zhao's revenge and Zhuang Yichen's cooperation. The Western restaurant named Vienna was as magnificent as its name. In the end, Yi Er said that she wanted to eat steak, so she booked a table here. The 3rd floor was a private room. Yi Er didn't have to accommodate Jiang Zhao's preferences anymore. Therefore, she wanted to sit in the main hall. The 1st and 2nd floors were the main hall. However, she heard that the entire 2nd floor was booked, so they could only eat on the 1st floor. Yi Er liked to eat in big and bright places. She felt that there was nothing to hide under the sun. Xiaoya's habit of sitting by the window hadn't changed. The floor of Vienna wasn't high, but the garden outside the building was huge. Therefore, the scenery outside the window was even more charming than the view from a tall building. Especially in May, when the sky was full of flowers, it was hard for a woman not to love a flower house that symbolized romance. Although the entire 2nd floor had been reserved, Yi Er could still smell the rose fragrance in the entire restaurant. It was a natural floral fragrance, not a mixture of spices. Someone whispered, "Wow, he's proposing. Do you know that? So romantic." The 2nd floor is filled with a sea of flowers and roses. Oh my God. What a huge diamond ring. The man is very handsome. Really, he's the young master of the Kong family. The woman is Xiaoya Qiu. She's that famous designer. They match so well. Xiaoya Qiu is dressed beautifully today. She's wearing a red gown and her makeup is beautiful too. She matches the atmosphere today. Yi Er was splashing water on her face in the bathroom. She was shocked when she heard the discussion. She walked out of the bathroom in a hurry. She stepped on the thick carpet and walked quickly to Jiang Zhao. The 2nd floor is booked by Kang Yun. He proposed to Xiaoya. Jiang Zhao sat opposite Yi Er. Seeing the confusion on Yi Er's face, he couldn't believe it. He didn't contact Zhuang Yichen, so he didn't know about the relationship between Zhuang Yichen and Qiu Xiaoya. Where did you hear this from? Didn't I go to wash my face just now? I accidentally heard it. I think the waiter on the 2nd floor said it. It doesn't seem fake. I want to go up and take a look. What are you going to see? If it's not, you'll get into trouble. Although Jiang Zhao's seat wasn't directly facing the door, he could still see everything that was happening at the door. He just happened to look up and see the tall door being pulled open by the waiter. A man wearing a casual black cotton shirt, casual pants and shoes came in. Jiang Zhao knew that if Zhuang Yichen came out, he wouldn't be dressed so casually. It was obvious that he was either at home or had rushed over from somewhere. Otherwise, he would be dressed in a suit like him. Everyone wanted to gain respect from others, so they had to show respect when they wore clothes. Although it was casual, the domineering aura of black on Zhuang Yichen was obvious. Could it be that the two of them had a tacit understanding today? Was that why they were both dressed casually? The only difference was that he was wearing white, while Zhuang Yichen was wearing black. However, Zhuang Yichen's face was as dark as iron. He just took big steps towards the extremely wide staircase that led to the 2nd floor. Jiang Zhao had a bad feeling. He followed Zhuang Yichen's footsteps and stood up. The waiter quickly chased after them and said with a nod, Mr. Zhuang, I'm sorry, but the 2nd floor has been reserved. If you want to eat, can we take the elevator to the 3rd floor? Zhuang Yichen turned a deaf ear to him and walked up 3 steps at a time. The staircase was very wide and was covered with a thick and soft dark red floral carpet. It was like a European palace. The floors were very high, so there were many staircases. The waiter was panting as he followed. Mr. Zhuang, Mr. Zhuang. Zhuang Yichen stopped in his tracks and turned around. His menacing aura scared the waiter who had yet to approach him. The waiter took a step back and stammered, Mr. Zhuang. The second floor has been booked. Get lost. Zhuang Yichen's eyes turned cold and he shouted. The waiter was so scared that he stumbled back and fell down the stairs. Oh my God. Yi covered her mouth and exclaimed. Jiang Zhao pushed his chair away. Yunyi, wait for me downstairs. I'm going up to take a look. I'm afraid something bad is going to happen. Zhao. Yi immediately followed Jiang Zhao and ran up to the second floor. In fact, Jiang Zhao could totally ignore this matter. However, Zhuang Yichen looked like he was about to kill someone and there was no one following him. What if he did something impulsive? Zhuang Yichen had already smelled the fragrance of roses when he was in the staircase. The entire Vienna was smothered by this smell and no one could recognize the smell. Before he reached the end of the staircase, he saw that the tables and chairs that used to be in the hall on the second floor had disappeared. There were piles and piles of roses. When he walked up, he realized that each pile of roses was as big as a big round table. They were even arranged in a heart shape. Heart shape. Bullshit. There was only one small long table on the second floor. Xiaoya was sitting on it with her body turned sideways. Kang Yiyun was kneeling on one knee, holding an exquisite red velvet box in her hand. The diamond was very dazzling. It was definitely dazzling. If it wasn't, how could the woman be unable to open her eyes? Moo moo, marry me. The man took out the diamond ring from the box and placed the box on the table. The woman's hand was gently held by the man. He wanted to put the ring that represented a lifetime into the woman's slender finger. The ring in her hand was suddenly snatched away. It was not a beautiful parabola. Like a shooting star, it disappeared without a trace. Only a faint sound could be heard from afar. Zhuang Yichen threw away the ring that Kang Yiyun was about to put on Xiaoya's finger. He lifted his long leg and kicked Kang Yiyun's chest hard. Kang Yiyun was caught off guard and fell down. Xiaoya stood up abruptly. Her eyes widened as she looked at Zhuang Yichen in disbelief. She was scared. Zhuang Yichen did not look at Xiaoya. Instead, he looked condescendingly at Kang Yiyun, who was wearing a formal tuxedo, who was about to get up. The corners of his mouth twitched. He swept the red wine and steak on the table to the ground. The man was in a sorry state. Zhuang Yichen looked at the way the two were dressed. He felt an uncontrollable fire spreading in his body. One was wearing a black tuxedo, the other was wearing a bright red tube-top dress. They even lied to him that the man liked women who were indifferent. Zhuang Yichen, what are you doing? Zhuang Yichen turned around and glared at Xiaoya. He shouted in a deep voice, sit down. Xiaoya did not dare to resist. She could not explain herself even if she had 10 mouths. She did not know that a blind date and a meal had become a marriage proposal. She also did not know that it was Kang Yiyun. If she knew, she would not have come. Zhuang Yichen did not look at Xiaoya, who had angered him. He turned around and stepped on Kang Yiyun's chest. Kang Yiyun was a gentleman. When he used force, it was not Zhuang Yichen's move. Zhuang Yichen's foot on Kang Yiyun's chest was just like his imposing manner. It was overbearing and arrogant. He could not resist at all. He said fiercely, Kang, did you eat a bear's heart or a leopard's gall? You dare to touch my Zhuang Yichen's woman? Zhuang Yichen, I have the right to pursue Mu Mu. She also has the right to choose me. Kang Yiyun could not stand up. His head was hit by the plate on the table and was bleeding. At this moment he felt dizzy. Right? Zhuang Yichen snorted, your right was long gone the moment she was with me. Her right was also gone at that moment. What bullshit right and right are you talking about in front of me? Let me tell you, only I, Zhuang Yichen, have the right. I have the right. Put away your dirty tricks. If you dare to have any thoughts of touching my woman again, don't blame me. Zhuang Yichen clenched his teeth and said, don't blame me. He swallowed the rest of his words, but it was like a knife from his ink-black pupils. Kang Yiyun trembled. Who do you think you are? Zhuang Yichen mocked. You will know who I am in the future. But I advise you not to know, it won't do you any good. Jiang Zhao had already asked the waiters and security guards to block off the second floor and not let anyone else come up. He did not want them to be on the newspapers tomorrow. Stop fooling around. Jiang Zhao pulled Zhuang Yichen. Take Xiaoya back. It won't do you any good if you make a big fuss. Jiang Zhao saw that Zhuang Yichen still refused to let go of his foot, but Kang Yun was obviously injured from the impact and had no strength left. He lowered his voice and looked at Zhuang Yichen coldly. Do you want tomorrow's newspapers to have the news of you and Kang Yun fighting over Qiu Xiaoya? Zhuang Yichen's eyes flashed, but he still refused to admit it. If I don't teach him a lesson, he won't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Yes, let him know and let the whole of Haiqing know. Jiang Zhao patted Zhuang Yichen's shoulder. You go first, now is not the time to fool around. Zhuang Yichen pondered for a while. Okay, I'll take her away first. You and Xiaoya take the elevator to the garage, don't take the stairs. Jiang Zhao then said to Yi Er, Yunyi, go get our car and wait for them at the elevator in the underground garage in case they get photographed. Wait for me there. Yi Er nodded and quickly pressed the elevator button to leave first. Zhuang Yichen said stiffly, thank you. He pulled Xiaoya away, but Xiaoya couldn't keep up with Zhuang Yichen's footsteps. Her high heels weren't suitable for running in such big strides, and the carpet on the floor was thick and soft. She felt that her heels were hooked and fell forward, crying out in pain, ah. Kang Yun got up from the ground and was about to chase after Xiaoya when Jiang Zhao pulled him back. Young Master Kang, why don't you tidy up your appearance first? Kang Yun froze in shame. Zhuang Yichen saw that Xiaoya had already squatted down, and his steel-like eyes darkened. He picked up Xiaoya and held her more firmly in his arms, then strode towards the elevator. He said angrily, I'll teach you a lesson when we get back. Beauty Novel Song Shu 566. Chapter 7:14. The four of them sat in Jiang Zhao's car. Yi Er and Jiang Zhao sat in the front, but at this moment Xiaoya really wanted to switch seats with Yi Er. Zhuang Yichen didn't say a word the whole way, but his face was sullen. Jiang Zhao was the first to break the silence. Yichen, where did you go tonight? No, I was at home the whole time. Actually, he had been in Qingfeng Garden the whole time. His men were following Xiaoya, so he read some books to pass the time. He could have gone back to Ninth Mansion, but he couldn't help thinking about how she dressed up that night. He just had to find something to do in Qingfeng Garden. It wasn't too late, it was still very early. But when his men called, he was furious. Good Lord, he wasn't going on a normal blind date, he was going to accept a marriage proposal. The other party wasn't just anyone, it was Kang Yun. This woman was extraordinarily bold now. In the past, she wouldn't have dared to lie to him, but now she didn't even need to think of a script to lie. Why don't the four of us go to Haiwei restaurant and find a private room for dinner? Jiang Zhao had originally brought Yi Er out for dinner, but the meal was ruined before they could finish. There's no need. Just send me back to Ninth Mansion. I've already eaten. I think she's eaten too. The she Zhuang Yichen was referring to was naturally Xiaoya. Xiaoya rubbed her stomach. She hadn't eaten yet, it was all wasted. Jiang Zhao had an idea. Okay, I'll go home with Yunyi to eat. Get some food from the fridge. There was no food in the fridge, but there was a small supermarket in Ninth Mansion that sold daily vegetables. Although it didn't have a complete variety, it was still very fresh. Most importantly, he could get Yi Er to cook for him and he could help out. Thinking of this, his hands that were holding the leather steering wheel felt exceptionally comfortable. He secretly turned his face to look at the woman beside him. She was also turning her head to look at him with a hint of dissatisfaction. He gave her an apologetic look. I'll have to trouble you then, Brother Zhao. Zhuang Yichen did not notice the flirtatious glances between the two people in the front row. He was not in a good mood, so his thanks were stiff and stiff. Jiang Zhao didn't care about it. He knew that Zhuang Yichen was probably so angry that his lungs were about to explode. Who didn't know that Zhuang Yichen was a very domineering person? It would be strange if he wasn't angry when something like this happened. Xiaoya was thrown into the room by Zhuang Yichen. As soon as Xiaoya took off her shoes, she was picked up by the waist and hung onto the man's waist. Then he walked into the room. Xiaoya's head and feet were hanging towards the ground. She felt her head was bleeding. Zhuang Yichen, what are you doing? He went straight to the bathroom and turned on the tap. As Xiaoya was placed on the ground, her head was pressed under the tap. Zhuang Yichen took a towel that was hung neatly on the rack to dry. He soaked it in water and rubbed Xiaoya's face. Xiaoya choked on a lot of water. The white porcelain basin filled up more and more, but her head was pressed down forcefully by Zhuang Yichen, so she couldn't get out of the water. She wanted to curse Zhuang Yichen, but when she opened her mouth, she drank a big mouthful of water. Zhuang Yichen lifted Xiaoya up and looked at her smudged face. But water couldn't wash away the makeup on her face. He was instantly furious. Xiaoya looked at Zhuang Yichen's eyes that were spitting fire. She felt a chill run down her spine. This man's violent tendencies were so obvious. How did she not notice it before? Her nose was still hurting. Zhuang Yichen, have you lost your mind? Zhuang Yichen didn't say anything to Xiaoya. He only held her down and didn't allow her to move. He pressed her against the sink and reached out to take his facial cleanser. He squeezed it out and rubbed it in his palms. Then he rubbed it all over Xiaoya's face. Ah, my eyes. Zhuang Yichen rubbed the facial cleanser into Xiaoya's eyes. Zhuang Yichen knew that facial cleanser shouldn't enter the eyes, but he allowed Xiaoya to scream. When he was almost done, he pressed her into the white porcelain basin and rinsed her with the water from the tap. Xiaoya felt that she was being humiliated and bullied. This kind of man was simply a violent pervert. He didn't know how to respect people. From the moment he pushed her into the basin, he was no longer a gentleman. Xiaoya didn't scream anymore. She closed her eyes and allowed this man to humiliate her in any way he wanted. The woman's head was pulled out of the water. Zhuang Yichen saw that her face was white again. The fire in his eyes extinguished a little. He saw the resistance in Xiaoya's eyes, but he could choose to ignore it. He pinched the woman's chin and pulled it up. He bent down and kissed her. He wanted to taste if there was another man's taste in her mouth. But just as his tongue entered her mouth, it was bitten by the woman's teeth. He instinctively retracted his tongue. Hiss. Zhuang Yichen frowned. In this luxurious bathroom, the two of them stood in front of the large sink. The orange light above them shone on Xiaoya's skin. Bite me. I'll bite you. The surging air in his chest pushed his chest up and down. Zhuang Yichen's gaze landed on Xiaoya's mouth. Then he moved his gaze down to her chin. Her beautiful neck and beautiful collarbone. Necklace? Evening gown? The color of the flame-like evening gown was reflected in his eyes. It was like two clusters of burning fire. He let out a long sigh, gritted his teeth, and reached over to tear her dress. The air was filled with rip, rip sounds until there was no sound. Zhuang Yichen. You bastard. What do you take me for? I hate you. I hate you. Xiaoya felt like a disrespected prostitute at this moment. She squatted by the door and buried her head between her knees. Although she always knew that she relied on sleeping with men to get to where she was, she had never felt like a prostitute like this in the 4 years she had been with him. A prostitute who was bullied and humiliated by others. But she didn't cry. She hated women who cried so easily. Her heart was in so much pain that she couldn't shed any tears. There was a pile of red fabric on the floor. Xiaoya's bra was thrown to the ground. Her underwear was torn off, and her necklace was thrown away. She was completely naked. Zhuang Yichen kicked all the things on the floor that were an eyesore to him to the trash can. Then he carried the naked Xiaoya out of the bathroom. He was very uncomfortable and depressed during the process. He threw Xiaoya into his pants and covered her body with a silk blanket. He pressed on top of her and said in a low voice, "Little demon Qiu, I didn't strip you naked because I wanted to do you. Don't test my patience time and time again. I told you last time, Kang Yun. Stay away from him. What do you take me for? What do I take you for? I take you for my woman." Her body under the silk blanket trembled. Jiang Zhao's dinner was very sumptuous. There were 3 dishes and a soup. He hadn't eaten 2 bowls of rice in a long time. He was very satisfied with this meal. Jiang Zhao cleaned up the dishes and came out of the kitchen. Ye was eating honeydew melon. "Jiang Zhao, I think I should go back to the hospital tonight. The doctor is probably looking for me." Jiang Zhao pointed to his back. Ye threw the honeydew melon into his mouth and ran over to Jiang Zhao to untie the apron knot on his back and help him take it off. "It's okay. I just called. The doctor said that it's the same if you go tomorrow. I told him that you were out for so long and there were no other reactions." "Really?" "Yeah." "Oh yeah, Miss Yun, remember not to tell anyone about our divorce." Ye nodded like a chick pecking rice. "Yeah, it's okay. Don't worry, Mr. Jiang. I'll keep it a secret." Jiang Zhao looked at Ye's smiling face. This woman's reaction was really disappointing. Was the divorce making her so happy? "I don't believe you. I don't know who used to threaten me that she was a blabbermouth." Ye thought about the robbery that night. She had used all her means to make Jiang Zhao take her out of the alley. Isn't that just once in a while? We can't be like that all the time. I'll sleep in Jie's room. You sleep upstairs alone. I'll make some preparations in a few days and move out. Ye's heart ached. "Okay, Jiang Zhao, thank you." "What are you thanking me for? There's no need for this between us." "Thank you for being considerate." "I should be considerate. You care about me and I care about you. It's only right, isn't it?" Ye nodded. It was a habit. They didn't talk about love. They only talked about what they should talk about. A week later, Zhou Li went crazy and couldn't be controlled. She could only be sent to the mental hospital. Ye went to see her twice. Every time, Jolie was covering her face and banging her head against the wall. As long as someone went to see her, she would bang her head against the wall until her head was bleeding. She said that her face couldn't be seen anymore. When she was in rehab, she said that no one dared to go near her. She hit and bit people and tortured them until they were black and blue. When Ye saw her mother like this, she didn't feel conflicted anymore. Everyone had their own destiny. Later on, she realized that maybe she was really biased. If her father had become like this, she would have been heartbroken. But when her mother became like this, she viciously felt that it was a form of relief. Ye returned to work. The busy Ye kept pestering Xiaoya. Sister Xiaoya, help me. Do you think this song will be better with a cheongsam with a one-sided slit? I think a cheongsam with a one-sided slit above the knee would be good because the female partner's legs are very beautiful. Xiaoya knew that this was an entertainment program. Many of the songs were popular among the public. The song was also very Chinese. Ye's idea was very good. Ye, are you trying to steal my job? How is that possible? I can't even draw a manuscript or make a sample dress. You're thinking too much. As the two of them were talking, Ye's cell phone rang. It was an unknown number. Hello. She picked it up and asked. Sister Ye. Lulu? Why did you change your phone number? Ye stood up happily. No wonder she couldn't get in touch after so long. She changed her phone number. Yes, it's me. It was a little inconvenient, so I changed my number. Ching Su's voice was a little soft. How have you been recently? I'm very good. Lulu, are you feeling better? Ching Su muttered to herself for a while. Her voice wasn't as sweet and straightforward as before. Instead, it sounded a little gloomy. I'm all better. I want to treat you and Xiao brother-in-law to a meal. When will you be free? Tonight. I'll ask Jianghu. He might not be free. Ye didn't dare to agree to a meal on behalf of Jianghu. Besides, family Min was in decline. He really couldn't think of a reason why Ching Su would look for Jianghu. Okay, just tell him I want to treat him to a meal. He probably won't refuse. Ching Su didn't sound confident when she said this. But just as Ching Su said, Ye repeated Ching Su's words and Jianghu agreed to the meal. He still remembered the scene when he went to see Ching Su after she woke up from her car accident. He remembered all the promises he made to her. Perhaps Ching Su didn't forget either. Some debts had to be repaid. Jianghu told Ye not to go with him because there were some things he wanted to talk to Ching Su about in private. A powerful novel. Songshu 566. Chapter 7:15. Was already swamped with work to begin with. Hearing Jianghu's words, she agreed. In a small private room in Haiwei restaurant, only Jianghu and Ching Su were seated. Just as Jianghu expected, Ching Su went straight to the point. She didn't seem to be in good spirits. Her head was slightly lowered and she didn't have her usual vigor. Her voice was also no longer crisp. Xiao brother-in-law, do you still remember what you promised me? Yes, I remember. Just say the word as long as it's within my means. Jianghu was fine when he didn't see Ching Su. As soon as he saw Ching Su, he felt that this girl shouldn't have suffered so much. He was responsible for both of her injuries. Ching Su looked up at Jianghu. Actually, I feel that I'm not a good person. When I saved Ye's Jejia, I didn't think of asking you for anything in return. I really didn't think of it. Ching Su's words and voice were filled with deep helplessness and self-deprecation. It was as if this kind of action made her feel embarrassed. But now I have no other choice. I can't find anyone to help me. After hesitating for so long, I can only bring this matter up to you. It was clearly a very simple matter, but now I've made it a little dirty. When she said the word dirty, Ching Su frowned slightly. She seemed to be disgusted. Lulu, you don't have to think like that. Even though you've raised conditions with me, it doesn't affect the fact that you're a good girl. As Jianghu's thoughts turned, he already had a rough idea. Although he hated Min Zikai, as he said, he had always felt that Ching Su was a good girl. Ching Su looked at Jianghu calmly. There was a clear and pure light in her eyes. Min Hongxing has been convicted, but he's only been sentenced. Luckily, family Min's debt isn't that serious, so they can still get by. But Min Zikai has caused some trouble recently. He got into a lawsuit. His mother said that he was framed. Min Hongxing told me to keep an eye on him and not let him cause any trouble. Family Min only has one son. Jianghu smiled faintly. You want to plead for leniency for Min Zikai? After a moment, Ching Su nodded slowly. Yes. But I remember that you didn't like him in the past. Min Hongxing said that Min Zikai and I both have his blood in our veins. Qing Su sniffled lightly. Jiang Zhao looked at the dishes on the table. Neither of them touched their chopsticks. He picked up the tea in front of him and took a sip. When he saw Qing Su, this reminded him of Yi Er in the past. Actually, after Qing Su had saved Yi Er's life, he had never thought of setting a trap for Min Zikai again. But Min Zikai didn't know how to appreciate his kindness and went to Yi Er's dance studio to provoke her. If he didn't teach him a lesson, how could he? Min Zikai's ability to make Jiang Zhao uncomfortable was no less than Yunwu's. And Yunwu had been lying low for a long time, so Jiang Zhao couldn't find any loopholes. So when Min Zikai provoked him, Jiang Zhao had a vengeful reaction. Smuggling. It was a method that he had thought of long ago. He just wanted to use it later. But these personal grudges actually made him exhale deeply when Qing Su's eyes suddenly reddened. He asked her, "If you were framed, you need evidence. You have any?" Qing Su was surprised for a moment. She suddenly said, "Then Xiao brother-in-law, can you tell me how to find evidence?" "I don't know, but I can try." "Lulu, Min Zikai won't accept your kindness." Jiang Zhao frowned. He thought back to when Qing Su was hospitalized with a broken rib in her lung. Min Zikai didn't even visit her. Later on, when she was seriously injured, Min Zikai didn't even frown. It was as if he couldn't wait for her to die. Qing Su lowered her eyes and stared at the light yellow tea in front of her. She didn't want to appear too self-deprecating. "But his surname is Min. Min Hongxing's family hasn't been ruined yet. We still have to rely on him to support it in the future. I know there's no way to deal with Min Hongxing's crime. I can only think of ways to reform him and try to reduce his sentence. But if Min Zikai also goes to jail, the family Min will really be finished. Min Hongxing's life's work will be ruined." Jiang Zhao sighed softly. Qing Su called him by his name, but he could tell that she really wanted to say that Min Hongxing was her father. Her actions had already proved it. "If only he was half as sensible as you. Men always mature late. My mother said so." Qing Su's voice was slightly choked. "I remember that Min Hongxing gave you a lot of family Min shares. You can support the family Min. You don't have to rely on Min Zikai. If you don't understand, I can help you hire a consultant." Qing Su shook her head. "My surname will always be Lu. Even if I have the Min Group's shares, I won't change my surname. Family Min will belong to Min Zikai in the future. I don't want it. My mother didn't leave me anything, only this surname." Jiang Zhao could see that Qing Su's shoulders were trembling uncontrollably. These girls sigh. "Well, you can't get him out, right? This incident was originally planned by his people, so it wouldn't be difficult to get him out." Qing Su's eyes lit up and she quickly nodded. "Yes. Okay. Let's eat. Don't let your sister Yi Er know about this." It wasn't easy for them to have an equal relationship. He didn't want her to feel indebted. "Thank you, Xiao brother-in-law." Qing Su didn't realize from the start that Jiang Zhao liked the three words, Xiao brother-in-law, very much. It was June and the summer was scorching hot. The program team gathered all the behind-the-scenes staff for a meeting. The general content of the meeting was that the viewership ratings were very good and the finals were coming soon. The station wanted to set a new high in viewership ratings and create a different model. They wanted to find an outdoor venue for the finals. As for the location of the finals, it was also a good opportunity to make money. They would provide a few scenic spots in the country that had good scenery and were also related to their sister stations. They would let the audience send messages and make calls to choose. Each message cost $1. The final location that they chose would be the one with the most votes. Therefore, some people thought that a coastal city would be chosen. After all, it was the middle of summer and there were beaches and bikinis. But in the end, the location chosen was the Hulunberg grasslands. The costumes, lighting, and mentors had to participate unless they were unwell. Everyone went through a physical examination. Yi Er originally thought that she was injured and couldn't participate. But unexpectedly, after the examination, she was in good condition. Xiaoya hugged Yi Er excitedly. "Oh, this is great. I really want to find a reason to leave Haiqing. This is a good opportunity. Yi Er, you have to come with me." "What are you doing? Are you feeling uncomfortable again? What did Haiqing do to you?" "No, I just don't want to face that jerk Zhuang Yichen." Xiaoya felt that it was getting harder and harder to communicate with Zhuang Yichen. Although they didn't communicate in the past, their communication in bed was still very good. Now she was always looking for reasons and excuses to reject him. She didn't like him touching her and hated him for being disrespectful to her. "It's good to go out and relax." "Yes, do you want to discuss it with Jiang Zhao?" "Of course." Yi Er felt that although they were divorced and no longer lived together, Jiang Zhao still wanted to tell her everything. He even asked her every day about what she was doing. He was used to it. If she didn't tell him her whereabouts, he would feel very uncomfortable. Then go back and discuss it with him. You have to think of a way to make him agree. As long as I'm healthy, he won't object. Yi smiled confidently. Her eyes curved into crescents and her face was filled with happiness. Jianghu was no longer as domineering as before. He almost never questioned anything she did. This feeling was too relaxing. The car drove to 9th Mansion. With the Bluetooth earpiece in her ear, she told Jianghu about the TV station's decision and her physical condition. Jianghu listened to Yi's description and was naturally delighted. Great, you can still go out and have fun. Don't tire yourself out. I think after I'm done with my work, I'll go there on a business trip. Who knows, you might run into her. What kind of business trip was that? He was obviously already thinking of arranging his work and getting ready to go find his wife. Really? I was going to ask you to pick up CGF for me. It's okay. The Qin family doesn't know that we're divorced. I'll tell the butler. Master, you're so kind. This servant is very grateful. Ah, here you go again. Drive carefully and don't call. That night, Shi Mansion. Unwu was wearing a simple set of white home clothes. He was leisurely looking at his past works in the studio. Some of them were already damaged. Although it was a pity, he was still satisfied. Although he could no longer draw with his hands, those things from the past were still very clear in his mind. He walked to the window and looked at the crescent moon in the sky. He touched his heart and gently closed his eyes. He didn't know how long it could beat. Maybe a year, maybe 2 years? Those words about being with a person of one heart and being together forever were all lies. Fortunately, he realized early on that he couldn't be together with her forever. Fate couldn't predict his trajectory, but it could determine his ending. Fortunately, he didn't do anything that would make her feel disgusted. Even if one day he was no longer in this world, she might still remember. Oh, so there used to be a boy named Shi Unwu who painted in that art street for so long. No matter what happened, he never stopped painting. He must have been very serious about pursuing the art he loved. She said that he was a prince in a fairy tale. So there wasn't necessarily a princess by the prince's side. Although there was no princess by the prince's side, the princess lived in the prince's heart. Unwu blinked the moisture in his eyes. He was a little thirsty, so he walked out. He wanted to see if his grandfather was resting. The slippers on his feet were soft and silent. He walked up the stairs lightly and shallowly. Outside the study, he could hear the voice in the study. It wasn't loud, but he could clearly feel the sternness of the person on the phone. Useless thing. These people have the nerve to ask for a price. They didn't do it cleanly, and they want me to find someone to cut off their tail. Unwu frowned slightly. He pushed the door open and asked softly, Grandpa, what happened again? Shi Jintian was shocked. He hurriedly hung up the phone and suddenly put away his stern expression. He said kindly, Unwu, what are you doing upstairs? Shouldn't you be in the studio now? Oh, I wanted to come up and see if Grandpa was busy. Unwu had already heard Shi Jintian's serious words and was rather worried. Grandpa, did you encounter some trouble? What needs to be done, but you didn't do it cleanly? Unwu knew about his family's background and was nervous. Shi Jintian saw Yunwu's inquiry and concern. He patted him on the shoulder and walked out, changing the topic. Have you been in a better mood recently? Beauty novel Hongcha 866. Chapter 716. It's pretty good. As long as it's good. There's no obstacle that can't be overcome. Actually, there are many obstacles that can't be overcome. No, Grandpa will flatten them for you, Shi Jintian said nonchalantly. However, Unwu was shocked. Although they had imagined the grassland when it was really time, Yi and Xiaoye were still stunned by the scenery in front of them. As far as the eye could see, it was a boundless expanse of green, dotted with scattered flowers. Looking at the boundless blue sky, the clouds in the sky were like a brush swinging wildly on a piece of paper. It was also like a veil on a young girl's head flying up. It was so transparent that only a faint white could be seen. The sky was so blue that even their hearts were clean. When the wind blew, there was no smell of dust or exhaust. There was only the smell of grass and the fragrance of wild flowers. Xiaoye hugged Yi and rolled on the ground. Yi, I like it here. I like it very much. Sister Xiaoye, don't be crazy. Be more reserved. You're a great designer. There are many people in the production team. Xiaoye let go of Yi and lay on the ground. She rested her head on her hands and adjusted her sunglasses to block the sunlight. She looked at the sky. It's not the first day that the people of Haiqing know that I'm not reserved. Sai, why did the production team choose such a place? How can I be in the mood to film? Isn't Brother TV here? It's convenient. Look, when we arrived, the yurts and everything were already prepared. It's so convenient. The location was also chosen well. There's a water source here. Ye closed her eyes and told Xiaoya what she knew. Actually, Xiaoya also knew what she knew, but she couldn't find anything to say. She missed Jianghu a little. He said that he would come here for a business trip. When was he coming? Hey, what are you thinking about? Xiaoya stretched out her leg and nudged Ye. Sister Xiaoya, do you miss Zhuang Yichen when you come to a place like this that has nothing to do with Haiqing? Xiaoya snorted and said, why should I miss him? I can't wait to stay away from him. He's a psycho. Don't you know that? That damn psycho. The sunglasses on Ye's face blocked the dazzling sunlight and ultraviolet rays. Her eyes were closed under the sunglasses. She sighed softly and said, if what happened between you and Kang Yun that day happened to me, Jiang Zhao would also be so agitated that he would turn crazy. Didn't think that she was exaggerating. Back then Jiang Zhao had made a lot of trouble. It was either Enyu or Minzikai. He even bit her. Yes. He even fought. Was this something a 30-year-old man should do? He wasn't 18 years old. That wasn't my fault. He didn't even ask me what was going on. I didn't provoke him. I didn't know that Kang Yun was the one who asked me out. He even abused me when I went back. He hit you? That can't be. Were all men so scary? Could it be that Zhuang Yichen also bit people? Was this what they meant by birds of a feather flocking together? No. Anyway, he abused me. Psychological abuse. He didn't treat her as a human. Okay, let's go out and relax. Don't be angry. If I was angry at him, I would have been angered to death 100 times. Sister Xiaoya, you're the most magnanimous. Xiaoya felt that Ye had grown up. The way she spoke was much calmer than before. She always gave people a sense of calmness in the face of change. It was as if she had seen through everything. Rather than saying that she had matured, it was better to say that she was filled with a helpless sadness. Knowing about Yun Hongwei's death and Zhou Li's madness must have been a big blow to her, right? Ye, don't you and Jiang Zhao plan to have a child? Ye's heart skipped a beat. What you said in the past was quite true. So, we basically have contraceptives. Let's have one. Jiang Zhao is a good person. He's not young anymore. He's good to you and you have him in your heart. Why don't you want one? Xiaoya was silent for a long time. Ye seemed to know that she had something to say, so he turned his head and quietly looked at her side profile. After a while, Xiaoya said sadly, I don't want one because I'm not married. You're different from me. You have a child, so your family is complete. Marriage? But they were already divorced. But, Ye continued to smile. Let's talk about it when we get back. Jiang Zhao said that if she wanted to remarry, she would tell him immediately. When they got back, she would tell him that she wanted to have a child. Because at this moment she really missed him. It was as if there was only a big photo of a blue sky and white clouds above her head, and it was only the background of the photo. In front of it stood a tall and handsome man, looking at her with a smile. As she thought about it, she got up and started running. Xiaoya sat up and shouted at Ye's back. Yunyi, what are you doing? I have a secret. I'm not telling you. Ye laughed and replied loudly as he ran. He did not turn around, but Xiaoya heard him clearly and continued to lie down on the grass. Ye ran a little further away from Xiaoya before slowing down. As he walked, he secretly smiled and bit his lip shyly, like a young girl who had fallen in love for the first time. She was wearing the uniform, dark red uniform issued by the station. It was a loose, long-sleeved sportswear with waterproof material. As she walked, it made a rough sound as it rubbed against the fabric. In the past she did not like to wear such clothes. They were ugly and the sound was unpleasant. But today when she heard these sounds she felt that they were like musical notes. The phone in her pocket was already a little hot from her grip. She took it out, placed it under her chin and slowly walked on the grassland. The broken wildflowers under her feet also fluttered with the waves of the green grass in the wind, just like her mood. Her phone was already pressed against her teeth. As she laughed, she went from being silent to giggling. She pressed the button. It was 10 o'clock in the morning. It was still too early. He must be very busy at this time. It was very likely that he was still in a meeting at this time. If she called him now, it would definitely affect his work. How long did his meetings usually last? She had never asked before. She had to ask next time. She looked at the time from time to time. It should be done in 10 minutes. He had meetings every day. There shouldn't be that much to talk about, right? When she called, it was a long and tedious music. She heard a robotic female voice saying, "The number you have dialed is currently unavailable. Please try again later." Ye hung up. It seemed like he was really busy. She turned around and saw Xiaoya, who was wearing the same clothes as her, lying on the ground in the distance. She was probably playing with the wildflowers in the grass. Forget it. I'll call him later. Slowly walked towards Xiaoya, the faint sound of the wind gently caressing her skin. Her hair was tied up, and her ponytail was blown up by the wind. The ringtone of her phone started to sing cheerfully. Looking at the number jumping on the screen, snickered and turned around. She picked up the call and said softly, "Hello." Jiang was stunned. He was originally sitting on the chair, but he suddenly stood up. She often called him that, but her mood was clearly different from usual. He could even hear the adoration in her voice. Was it an illusion? "Yunyi, what are you doing? What do you think?" Ye lowered her head and kicked her heels with the tips of her feet. She heard the man on the other end of the phone exhale deeply. He pushed up the sunglasses on his face. At this moment all the cells in his body were singing the song of yearning. Ye heard the man's breathing and could imagine that he must be surprised. She imagined him stopping in front of her. She tilted her head and clamped the phone on her shoulder. She reached her hand up to her eyes and seemed to be adjusting something. That was the position of the man's tie. She could help him adjust it and loosen it. She also helped him undo one of the buttons. Then she stroked down the tie and caressed his chest to help him calm down. She leaned forward slightly as if she was nearing his embrace. She softly said, "Ah Zhao, the grasslands here are so beautiful. The blue sky is so clear, the white clouds are so white, the air is so clear. Everything is so clean as if there are no impurities. Ah Zhao. When I look at the sky, I see you smiling at me. You're so handsome." Ye's eyes stung and tears fell. Then she giggled and said, "Ah Zhao, you're so handsome. You're so handsome that I miss you." Zhao held the phone, tugged at his tie and unbuttoned it. His big hand stroked down the tie, caressing his heart, which was beating very fast. Although he knew that she always had him in her heart, he did not expect that she would call him to tell him this. If he had known, he would have sent her to that kind of place earlier, so that she could feel that he was handsome earlier and say that she missed him earlier. This woman was really annoying. When she spoke words of love, they were as delicate as strands of hair. She laid the groundwork for so long, but the last 3 words were the main point. This troublesome thing kept saying such sweet words for him. As he listened, he almost cried. When he opened his mouth, he realized that his voice was hoarse. "Yunyi, I also miss you a lot." As he called out the woman's name, he flipped through the pile of documents on the table. He couldn't stay in Haicheng any longer. He had to hurry and fly over. Ye held the phone and looked up at the sky. Xiaoya's words echoed in her ears. She said shyly, "Ah Zhao, when I go back this time, let's have a child." Okay. Zhao slumped back into his chair. He could have said those 2 words heavily, but he said them softly and weakly. The strong waves in his heart had already made him unable to make a sound. He raised his hand to cover his face, and his palm was wet and slippery. Zhao calmly ran over and started discussing how to reduce his workload. It wasn't like the past when he had to participate in many things. It was also very tiring to arrange the transfer of work. Fortunately, many of the work could be arranged in the name of training. Zhao started to make arrangements. However, he had to attend a work meeting with the municipal committee for the next 2 days and couldn't leave. He could only book the plane ticket for the 3rd day. The green and blue grasslands always made people want to see cows and sheep in the wind, as well as those galloping horses. When participating in the competition, the station also had to record some of the local customs of the grasslands and let the popular contestants do some interesting things for publicity. This was also a request made by Brother Station. They didn't forget to spread the local culture at all times. Attention Xingwu 799. Chapter 717. The contestants were filming for the show. Ye and Xiaoya were abusing their position for personal gain. The 2 of them had just learned how to ride a horse. From time to time, they would squeeze the horse's belly and let the horse pace slowly. Later on, they would speed up and raise their whips, valiantly urging the horse to gallop. It was impossible to experience such unbridled and wild gales in Haicheng. This was because when they first learned how to ride a horse, the local herdsman would ride behind them and lead them for a while. If they were in Haicheng, Jianghu or Zhuangyichen would definitely fly into a rage if they saw a man and a woman touching each other like that. With the patient guidance of the herdsman, they dared to ride a horse for a day. The sense of accomplishment was self-evident. The temperature difference between day and night was huge. At night the wind was dry and cold. Yi Er and Xiaoya sat outside the yurt, wrapped in cotton-padded clothes, and looked at the stars. The grassland was blue and clear during the day, and the clouds were like cotton and gauze. At night, the sky was like a large piece of dark blue satin, and the stars were strung together with thin threads that could not be seen clearly. Even though it was a deep blue, it looked like a clear pool. Although it was deep, it was transparent. The stars looked as if they had been carefully wiped countless times with a rag. They were so bright that there was not a single speck of dust. They were white and sparkling, just like the large carrots on the slender fingers of a wealthy lady. Yi Er, you saw Jianghu again? Xiaoya heard Yi Er's muffled laughter. The two of them were originally back to back, but now they turned around and crawled in front of Yi Er. She realized that she was looking at the sky and giggling. You really saw Jianghu? Yi Er pouted and glared at Xiaoya. Humph, I'm not telling you. Xiaoya also snorted. If you don't want to tell me, then don't tell me. I also saw the person I wanted to see. Zhuangyichen? I'm not telling you. Xiaoya pretended to be pretentious as she stood up and stretched her body. She took a deep breath and bent over to pull Yi Er up from the floor. Go to sleep. We're going horseback riding again tomorrow. We won't be able to play when the show officially starts recording. Yi Er readily agreed. Sure, I want to be first tomorrow. Stop dreaming. You can't outrun me. At this moment, a staff member walked over enthusiastically. Are the two beauties going to ride horses tomorrow? Yeah, Xiaoya hooked her arm around Yi Er's. Let's go ride tomorrow. We'll go again after we finish filming this episode. Then I'll get someone to follow you guys tomorrow. Just ride properly and don't get lost. I was worried for nothing. An old horse knows the way, how could it get lost? The staff member was a man in his 40s. He was also wearing a cotton-padded jacket to keep out the cold. When he spoke, he was very candid. Then I'll help you find the horse you rode today. Horses sometimes recognize people. You can ride the one you rode today tomorrow. It'll feel better. Okay. Then I'll have to trouble Brother Lu. Yi Er nodded in agreement. Xiaoya waited for the man to leave before she pursed her lips and sneered. Who said that? Don't listen to his nonsense. We're going to change horses tomorrow. If we can't even subdue a horse, how can we ride horses on the grasslands? Sister Xiaoya, I realize that you're even more rebellious than before. I've already changed. Can't you control your temper? Yi Er said as she pulled her arm out of Xiaoya's and hooked her arm around Xiaoya's. You're the older sister. I'll hold you. What a blow. Xiaoya rolled her eyes at Yi Er. You're so much taller than me, yet you're still holding my arm. You're so annoying. Don't call me older sister in the future. You must have snatched all my things when I was younger. That's why I didn't grow taller. Haha. The sound of a car's accelerator could be heard. Xiaoya and Yi Er let go of each other's hands and turned around to look for the source of the sound. In the distance, two white beams of light swayed back and forth. It should be some small mounds on the grasslands that caused the car to move up and down. The car was getting closer and closer. It was either a tourist or a member of the production crew. The locals were all herdsmen and rarely bought such a good off-road car. Seeing the car stop outside the production crew's yurt, Xiaoya tugged at Yi Er's cotton-padded jacket. Did they invite some big star to help out? Why did they send it here so late? It's an off-road car that costs more than 1,000,000 yuan. Even a small star wouldn't be able to use it. Yes, it has nothing to do with us. We're not in their circle. Let's go to sleep. Let's go. The two of them had just turned around when they heard the sound of a car door slamming shut. Then a clear male voice shouted anxiously, Yi Er. Yi Er paused and turned around. The yurt was still lit and the headlights of the off-road car were still on. Unwu chased after Yi Er in a hurry. Yi Er couldn't help but be stunned. Before Unwu could run to Yi Er, the woman in the driver's seat also got out of the car. She took a coat and ran over to put it on Unwu. Unwu put on the coat and turned around to say gently to N, go look for Director Lu and ask him to arrange a place for you to stay. I'll go look for you later. N nodded without any resistance. Then don't take too long. Go. N didn't look at anyone else and turned around. Why are you here? Yi Er saw that Unwu was travel-worn and his gaze was no longer as clear as before. She thought that this boy's gaze would never change, but at this moment she saw the uneasiness and pain in his eyes. Unwu. Yi Er, how have you been these 2 days? Unwu carefully sized up Yi Er. Suddenly, he seemed to realize that he had lost his composure and scratched his head with a smile. And wanted to come to the grasslands to play. I happen to know that the TV station's production team is here. I wanted to save some trouble and save myself the trouble of setting up a tent, so I came to look for her. Yi didn't know why, but he felt relieved. He smiled and said, "You're here to play? Isn't that great? We're going horseback riding tomorrow. Ask An to come along." "Okay." Unwoo agreed without a second thought. Xiaoya pulled on Yi's sleeves. "You guys talk, I'm going to bed. I need to wake up early for the horseback riding tomorrow." Unwoo didn't disturb Yi too much. He only told her to go horseback riding tomorrow, go to bed early, stay in the yurt at night, and go find an inn. When he was at Sea City, Unwoo had already contacted the producer of the show. He said that She Empire would be the main sponsor for the next competition, so naturally the producer treated Unwoo differently. The small yurt was already prepared. After Unwoo walked in, An had already prepared a cup of warm water. She passed the cup to Unwoo while her other hand opened to reveal a pile of red and white pills. She passed them to him. "Brother, you take these." Unwoo accepted the pills and poured into his palm. He tilted his head back and popped them into his mouth. He gulped down a large mouthful of water. And accepted the cup and placed it on the small table. Then she went to prepare some water for Unwoo to wash his face. Unwoo called after her. And stood still and turned around. Yunwoo's jacket was a loose winter jacket. It was casual and had a large pocket. He pulled out a business card from the pocket and passed it to An. "Drive the car to the airport and contact this person. I bought you a ticket. Leave as soon as possible." An's heart squeezed and her eyes reddened. She looked at the business card in the young man's hand and shook her head. She mumbled, "Why?" "An, don't cry. Listen to me." Unwoo pulled An's hand and placed the business card in her hand. "I've brought your passport and everything else for you. He'll send you to America. An, don't cry. Listen to me. Once you go there, don't ever come back. Do you understand?" An had always been calm, but she was always irritated by Unwoo. She tore the business card in her hand and tore it into pieces. She threw it at Yunwoo's face and said angrily, "I don't want it. I don't want it. Why are you chasing me away? I'm not in your way. I didn't tell on you. I didn't prevent you from finding Yunyi." Yunwoo's face turned cold. The gentleness in his eyes disappeared instantly and was replaced by a cold and stern look. He shouted, "She and then saw that Unwoo was angry. Her body trembled and her lips trembled. She wanted to bite her lips, but she couldn't help but gasp for air. Her tears flowed like water. No matter how dissatisfied she was, she didn't dare to resist. "What if I don't leave?" "You have to leave even if you don't want to." And suddenly squatted on the ground and buried her head between her legs. She opened her mouth and bit on her cotton shirt. She tried to hold back her sobs and her words were slurred. "I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. I'm going to tell Grandpa. I'm going to tell Grandpa that you didn't go to participate in the acquisition. You sneaked out to find Yunyi. Unwoo, I'm going to tell on you. I'm going to have Grandpa lock you up and never give you freedom again." Unwoo looked at An's trembling shoulders and pain flashed through his eyes. He reached out his hand to pat An's head. He slowly clenched his fist and stood firm. He took a deep breath and said coldly, "An, you're going to tell on me? Get your facts straight. You're just an adopted girl. Who do you think you are? You're just an adopted girl to play with me. You're just a servant of the Shi family." An tilted her head and looked at the boy with teary eyes. He said she was just a servant of the Shi family. In his eyes, she was just a servant. An's head seemed to be frozen. She looked up at Unwoo. "I'll leave after you leave, okay? I need to remind you to take your medicine. I'll be punctual. Then, I can take care of myself when it comes to eating and sleeping." When An left, it was when the sun rose above the horizon. She begged for mercy the whole night, but she couldn't move Unwoo. She didn't know what she did wrong, but she refused to leave, so Unwoo called his men to take her away. Outside the stable in the early morning, Yi, Xiaoya, Unwoo and a herdsman were inspecting the horses. The herdsman inspected the horses and then brought them out. The horses that little Ya and Yi rode yesterday, one black and one brown, were handed to them. He also brought out another one for Unyu. Finally, the herdsman brought out the horse that he rode all year round. He touched the horse's mane and said some things that they should pay attention to yesterday. His Mandarin was not standard, but Yi and the others could understand. Welfare Xingwu 799. Chapter 718. Tugging on the reins, he said, Yi, why don't you go back to High City? The temperature difference in the grasslands is so big. Anan can't take it anymore and left. Anan is a child, but I'm not. Yi hung a water bottle on his saddle and looked at his leather boots. Thinking about how cool he looked when he was riding a horse, he couldn't help but laugh. You can only ride a horse at the racetrack in High City. The air there isn't as good as here. Unwu looked around and sighed. Isn't it the same wherever you ride a horse? Yi had already prepared the food and drinks. She pulled on the reins and turned around with a smile to look at Unwu, who had already packed up. He was still the same young man, but why did he look so serious? Such an expression shouldn't have appeared on his face. He should have a smile on his face like the morning sun, and not such a turbid expression. Unwu, aren't you going to look for Anan? A strange look flashed across Yinwu's eyes. He nimbly got on the horse, stepped on the stirrups and sat on the saddle. His movements were fluid and smooth. He smiled and said, I want to ride a horse on the grasslands too. To Yi, Unwu was a gentle young man. But at this moment he looked like a romantic swordsman dressed in white who flew out of a Wuxia novel. He had a free and uninhibited handsomeness. When he lowered his head to look at her, there was a hint of sadness in his eyes. Yi looked at Unwu with a trace of heartache. Just as she was about to get on the horse, Xiaoya snatched the reins from her hands. I want to change horses. Yi frowned. Didn't you say yesterday that you wanted to ride a horse you were familiar with? No, I want to change horses. You rode faster than me yesterday. It must have something to do with the horse. Xiaoya's horse yesterday was black, while Yi's was brown. In fact, Xiaoya felt that brown looked better than black. Maybe it was because she had ridden a black horse before. In ancient dramas, horses were either white or brown. Who would ride a black horse? Now that they were in an unfamiliar place like the grassland, she didn't want to give in to Yi, or just because she was the elder sister. Occasionally she would act shamelessly, which was also a very good experience. She pouted with a slight displeasure. You're not willing? Yi shrugged and said nonchalantly, so be it. When Unwu saw Yi walking toward Xiaoya's horse, he reminded him, ride slowly and get used to it. Don't ride so fast the moment you get on the horse. Unwu, I got it. Xiaoya thought to herself, isn't she Yunwu's concern for Yi a little too obvious? How could he bring his girlfriend out to relax? Clearly he was out to hook up with a mistress behind his girlfriend's back. Bah. Yi is not a mistress. Forget it. It's not appropriate to talk about this in front of friends. Xiaoya pulled the saddle, stepped on the stirrups and flipped onto the horse's back. Yi did the same. He slowly climbed onto the horse's back. The 4 horses trotted slowly. With the herdsman following them, they felt even more secure. There was another horse following them from a distance. It was Yi's bodyguard. He was wondering if there was a need to tell Jianghu that Unwu had also come to the grasslands. He took out his phone and dialed. Only then did he realize that there was a limit to the number of calls. Following behind the 4-man team, the bodyguards got even closer. The horses began to trot and gallop. One after another they cheered, "Giddy up! Giddy up!" Their voices resounded through the clouds. This was the first time Unwu had seen Yi so thoroughly happy. The sound of happiness rushed out of her lungs. Hence he followed her horse closer. He couldn't bear to disturb her because of his worries and wanted to keep a close eye on her. After all, riding a horse was a very dangerous thing to do. All of a sudden, there was a horse neighing, screech. Yi couldn't help but turn around to take a look. He saw the bodyguard's horse raise its front hooves in the air and let out a long neigh. Then it began to gallop wildly. The bodyguard was a tough and burly man. He was tossed around on the horse's back and nearly fell off it. When the herdsman saw this, he quickly urged his horse over. He shouted anxiously in Mandarin, "Don't kick the horse's stomach. Don't hit it." The bodyguard did as he was told, but the horse continued to gallop wildly. Suddenly it galloped wildly in another direction. The herdsman raised his whip and urged his horse to chase after it. Xiaoya and Yi also quickly followed, afraid that something bad would happen. But after running for a short distance, little Ye's horse suddenly went crazy. It raised its head to the sky and neighed. Then it let out a blood-curdling scream. Little Ye was so scared that her face turned pale. Unwu suddenly thought of something and quickly shouted, "Yi, don't move. I'll chase after Miss Chiu. Miss Chiu, lower your body. Hold on to the reins tightly. Don't get thrown off by the horse." Xiaoya's feeling of being conquered had completely disappeared. All that was left was fear. She felt like she was about to throw up everything she had eaten in the morning. She didn't feel that the horse's back was very high at the beginning, but now she felt like she was sitting on a frog jump in an amusement park without a seat belt. Xiaoya was close to tears. I can't hold on to it properly. I can't hold on to it properly. I'm about to get thrown off. I am scared. Unwu rode over and shouted, No. If you get thrown off by the horse you'll be trampled to death. Hold on tight. When Xiaoya heard Yunwu's words, she could only focus all her energy on holding on to the reins tightly. She pulled them around her hands twice and tried to hold them lower. But this way her hands were strained and it hurt a lot. Unwu rode over, and just as he dismounted to grab Xiaoya's reins, Xiaoya's horse immediately started galloping. Unwu, I'll chase after Sister Xiaoya. Unwu was worried that Yi Er's horse would also lose control. His horse was probably the safest out of all of them, right? Yi Er, come down and ride with me. Yi Er couldn't care less. He felt that switching horses was a waste of time. He whipped the horse, squeezed the horse's belly and held the reins tightly. If anything happens to Xiaoya, Zhuang Yichen will kill me. Her horse is mine. He wasn't afraid that Zhuang Yichen would kill her, but he was afraid that someone around her would get hurt. Unwu cursed under his breath and mounted his horse to chase after her. Although the horse was no longer jumping wildly in the air, its speed was still shockingly fast. Xiaoya could only hold the reins tightly. Her palms were already scratched and bleeding, but she couldn't feel any pain. She had to resolve the reason for her fear. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to stop her body from trembling. If she ran out of strength, she would definitely be thrown off the horse. Zhuang Yichen. Xiaoya almost blurted it out. She cried and shouted, Zhuang Yichen. When I become a ghost, I'll definitely drag you down to accompany me. You bastard. Her ears were filled with the fresh and natural sounds of the grasslands. Her nose was filled with the scent of flowers and grass, but Xiaoya saw blood, saw death and smelled decay. She couldn't suppress it. When she thought of Zhuang Yichen, she could suppress it for a while, but after a while she could smell the decay again. Zhuang Yichen, aren't you omnipotent? Why can't you marry me? I'm going to die. I'm still an unmarried woman before I die. Where will I put my face if you keep shouting? Xiaoya cursed in her heart over and over again until she felt the horse suddenly stop. Her entire body was thrown forward due to inertia. When she saw the horse in front of her sink, Xiaoya was shocked. The swamp. She didn't dare to use force. She knew that the more she struggled, the faster she would sink. Just like the horse in front of her. It was such a tall horse, but now only its head was still outside. She felt as if there were countless hands under her feet that were forcefully pulling and dragging her. Her hands were still stretched out on the surface of the mud, but she couldn't reach into her pockets. She wanted to call Zhuang Yichen and tell him that for the past few days, she could see him when she looked at the blue sky and white clouds during the day and the stars and moon at night. Although he was a little despicable and a little perverted, she still saw him. She saw the scene when they first met. She said to him, Sir, can I treat you to a drink? At that time, he only smiled faintly and raised his glass to hers. I don't spend women's money and I don't like women paying for me. So miss, I'll treat you to a drink. She saw the scene when she cried out in pain under him for the first time and scolded him for not knowing how to take care of women. She saw how every time he appeared at her press conference, he would always bring along a stunning beauty to accompany him in order to prevent the outside world from writing about them. She saw how he sat below the stage and gently tugged at the corner of his mouth. She remembered that he was obsessed with cleanliness. She also remembered that he said that he liked the small table lamp at her place because it had the effect of dispelling nightmares. It was just that they hadn't had a proper meal together, and he hadn't given her a proper gift. Other than a tie that she made herself, she hadn't given him anything else. His clothes were always several times more expensive than other people's. Most importantly, she hadn't told him personally that she missed him very much. She should walk up to him, wrap her arms around his neck, tilt her head and smile naughtily. Zhuang Yichen, I think I've fallen in love with you. Xiaoya hated crying, but at this moment she stuck out her tongue and tasted something salty. She heard the horse's neighing and opened her mouth. Her stomach felt like it was being strangled by thick mud. She used all her strength to shout in the direction of the sound, Don't come over. Yunwu's and Yi Er's horses weren't startled, so when they reached the swamp, they sensed danger and slowly stopped. Yi Er saw that Xiaoya was stuck in the mud and was so frightened that his face turned pale. In a moment of stupidity he wanted to rush over. Looking around, there weren't any obvious puddles and the green grass grew evenly. How could it be a swamp? Even though Unwu was usually calm, he almost lost his composure. He coldly shouted at Yi Er, Stop right there. Older sister Xiaoya. Even though Yi Er had watched some movies, he didn't know what to do next. The horse refused to move forward. No, I have to pull her up. Yi was afraid that the mud would pull Xiaoya down. His waist was still exposed, but what about later? If Zhuang Yiqin finds out that I caused older sister Xiaoya's death, he will definitely kill me. Yi's voice trembled uneasily. She always used such a tone to affirm that she had to save Xiaoya, forcing herself to believe that she had to save Xiaoya because she was afraid that she would die. This way she would be braver. You're not allowed to go over. Unwu bent down and pounded the ground. As long as I'm here, no one can kill you. Welfare Hongcha 866. Chapter 719. Stay where you are and don't move. I'll go over and think of something. Unwu removed the reins from Yi's horse and reminded her, Yi, be good and stay here. Don't distract me and don't move at all. Do you understand? Yi, she looked at Unwu, at this boy who was about her age. She had only seen him as calm as water, aloof from worldly affairs, with pure and clean eyes, face and temperament. She had never felt that he was a proud leader. He was calm, indifferent, calm, self-controlled, and did not show any signs of panic. He gave people an endless sense of security just by looking at him. Yi nodded hesitantly. Looking at Unwu like this, she had already forgotten what kind of voice that immortal-like youth had sounded like in the early mornings, afternoons, and dusks of the art street. Unwu held onto his horse as he stomped hard on the ground. He looked for a relatively hard spot on the ground as he walked over to Xiaoya. As he walked over, he comforted Xiaoya. Xiaoya, Jia, pull open your jacket and pull down your sleeves to your armpits. Don't make any big movements, then use both sleeves to tie a knot in front of your chest. Tighten it a little and tie a dead knot. Remember, don't make any big movements. Don't be nervous, I'll pull you up. Little Yi listened to Enyo's voice. It was faint, like a spring in spring, flowing into her ears with a tinkling sound. It was as if a beam of pale yellow morning light had suddenly lit up in the darkness. Suddenly, her wildly beating heart began to calm down, as if she had taken a tranquilizer. She looked at the elegant youth, pulling the horse and steadily walking towards her step by step. The horse was obviously unwilling to go over, so Unwu walked in front of it. He clearly looked like a weak young man, but he seemed to have infinite strength. He pulled the restless horse and steadily walked towards Xiaoya's quagmire. Yi looked at Yunwu's back and walked forward unyieldingly. The sky above the swamp started to darken, and the sky slowly darkened. His heart started to ache. Unwu, be careful. He took out his phone and wanted to call the ambulance, but there was a limit to the number of calls. Yi, don't move. Don't distract me. Unwu did not turn around. He only responded to Yi calmly. When Yi nodded, that lump of sour air condensed in his nose, making him feel very uncomfortable. I won't move. Xiaoya looked at Unwu and started to unzip her sportswear. The mud was now up to her waist, but her nervousness was easing. Her movements also slowly stopped trembling because of the boy walking towards her. She pulled out her sleeves and tied a knot in front of her chest. Sister Xiaoya, tie a knot until it's dead. I know. I'm just worried that the quality of the clothes won't be good. Later, when the seams are unzipped, these are the uniforms given by the station. Don't worry. The uniforms given by the TV station are of high quality. They're much better than the ones made in your shop. Embroidered pillow, look at how good your clothes are. It's not dirty yet, it's practical. After you come out this time, you have to get this set of clothes fixed and hang it at home. Unwu was afraid that Xiaoya would be nervous and scared, so he joked with her. There was already mud in front of him, so he could not move forward anymore. He tied a knot on one end of the rope in his hand. As he tied the knot, he weighed it in his hand. Unwu held the small knot in his hand and looked at Xiaoya's position. He estimated the length of the rope and tied another knot. Xiaoya's face was already covered in mud. Unwu threw the rope in his hand over. It landed steadily and accurately on Xiaoya's chest. Xiaoya was shocked. His aim was too accurate. Unwu said, Sister Xiaoya, do you still have the strength? Yes. Very good. If you still have the strength, you must reach out and grab the rope later. Don't let your face be buried in the mud. I'm afraid you'll suffocate. Don't move it carelessly. I'm afraid you'll break a bone. Listen to me now. Thread the rope through the fixed sleeve in front of your chest. Okay. Xiaoya followed Yunwu's instructions and threaded the rope through the looped sleeve in front of her chest. Sister Xiaoya, tie a knot. Tie another dead knot. You'll definitely kill me. Okay. Xiaoya tied another knot. She tugged at it to make sure it wouldn't budge. Then she said, Unwu, I'm done. The mud was already up to her chest. Xiaoya felt that it wasn't difficult to breathe. Unwu had already turned around and tied the other end of the rope to the reins of his horse. Then he pulled the horse in the direction he came from. Unwu looked at Xiaoya as he shouted, "Yi Er, don't move." "Unwu, I'm not moving." "I didn't move, I didn't, you don't have to worry about me." Stood where she was, and the horse beside her was also breathing heavily. It seemed to be unable to suppress its impatience. The more restless the horse was, the more terrified Yu was, and the more dangerous she felt. She couldn't help but sniffle. Every time Unwu told her not to move, she would feel the sour smell in her nose become more and more pungent. Even if she was a block of wood, she should know that with Unwu and Xiaoya's friendship, he would never risk his life for Xiaoya. All those things that she didn't want to understand on a normal day, at this moment she understood everything. Unwu patted the horse as he spoke to Xiaoya. "Sister Xiaoya, hold on to the rope and rest your head on your arm. You must not bury your head in the mud. You're wearing boots. If you feel that you can't move anymore, straighten your feet. That way you can take off your shoes and reduce the resistance." The horse neighed. It seemed to be a little slippery. Unwu didn't dare to pat the horse too hard to make it move faster. He was afraid that they might accidentally run into another swamp. Xiaoya's body was uncomfortable from being pulled. The rope was pulled taut. When she rested her head on her arm, she lifted it up with just a little bit of strength. Her chest was already pressed against the swamp, but she felt that her legs were about to break from the pull. Fortunately, her clothes were wrapped around her armpits. They were wide and soft. If she used a rope, she would have died from the pain. "Unwu, you're so smart. You're also very smart. You didn't move around recklessly, so hang in there. Don't twist around. Hang in there." Xiaoya nodded. "Unwu, you don't have to keep comforting me. Be careful." Yi Er watched from across the swamp as Unwu led the horse alone. He carefully and calmly tried to save Xiaoya. The horse seemed to have been enduring Yunwu's strong control. It wanted to leave this place immediately. The horses of the grasslands seemed to have a strong will in their bones. Just as Xiaoya was dragged out of the swamp, Unwu released the reins that restrained Xiaoya. The horse suddenly felt relaxed and lifted its front hooves. It raised its head and neighed. "Unwu." Yi Er followed the path Unwu took to find Xiaoya and ran over. "Unwu." Xiaoya was also shocked. Unwu was kicked into the swamp by the horse and lay on his back. He heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, he was not lying on his stomach. But when he heard Yi Er's voice, he panicked. "Yin, I told you to stay where you are." Yi Er remembered the path Unwu took because her eyes never relaxed. She walked to Xiaoya's side and knelt on the wet ground. She hurriedly untied the knot on Xiaoya's chest. She could not say a word and her teeth chattered as she struggled. Xiaoya looked at the knot on her chest. She saw Yi Er's hands on her chest shaking as she untied the knot. She watched as the water droplets fell on Yi Er's hands. Then she pried Yi Er's hands away and untied the knot herself. She was a clothing designer and knew a lot about fabrics and ropes. She twisted the rope until it became a tight fried dough twist and began to untangle it inch by inch. The sky was getting darker. Yi Er snatched the rope from Xiaoya's hands and walked to where the horse was standing. She imitated Unwu and tied a knot on one end of the rope. No matter how much Unwu scolded her, she could not hear him. She weighed the knot in her hand and felt that it was heavier. Then she threw it at Unwu. It was crooked and she threw it again. Unwu was a little far from her. Yi Er was so anxious that she cried. "Sister Xiaoya, how did this happen? How did this happen? Unwu clearly threw it in front of you just now, but why can't I throw it? Why can't I throw it?" Xiaoya was covered in mud and stood beside Yi Er like a clay figurine. Her shoes were gone, but she did not pay much attention to it. She took the rope from Yi Er's hands and imitated Unwu. Then she threw it. It was crooked. Yunwu's breathing quickened, but he forcefully suppressed the rise and fall in his voice. He patiently propped his head with his hand and frowned. "Yi Er, listen to me. You and Sister Xiaoya should take advantage of the fact that the sky is not completely dark to slowly walk back. Remember to test the water with your feet as you walk. Hold a rock in your hand and throw it or bend down to knock on the ground in front of you. If it's soft, don't step on it. Don't be anxious. It's not far from here. If you don't go now, you won't be able to walk out when it gets dark. Unwu, don't say anything. Don't say anything." Yi Er snatched the rope from Xiaoya's hands and walked slowly around the swamp. He wanted to find a place that was closer to Unwu. Unwu felt his body sinking. He moved his arms and moved smoothly. "Yi Er, you don't have to worry about me. I can get out. You go first. I have more experience in surviving in the wilderness than you do." Yi Er turned a deaf ear to him. It was only when he reached Yunwu's head that he realized this place was very close. He could not go around anymore. It was a little soft in front of him, so he threw the rope in his hand. Finally, it reached Yunwu's hand. Unwu, hold on to it. I can get out. You and Sister Xiaoya should take this opportunity. The sky is not dark yet. Hurry up and leave. There's a lot of methane in the swamp. Don't you know that it's poisonous? Hurry up and leave. Unwu, if you refuse, I'll go down and pull you up. Yi Er's eyes were shining stubbornly. He stood there and raised his hand to wipe the water stains on his face. Xiaoya was already exhausted, but she still walked along Yi Er's path. She held the rope with Yi Er. Unwu, I'll pull you up with Yi Er. Did they think it was that easy to pull someone out of the swamp? Unwu ignored them. He moved his arms inch by inch and pushed his back. He moved slowly. Yi Er's expression turned cold. He placed the rope in his hand and Xiaoya's hand and turned around to walk back to the horse. Unwu was shocked. Yi Er, stay away from it. If it doesn't listen, it'll kick you. Welfare Hongcha 866. Chapter 720. I don't want to talk. It's a waste of energy. Yi Er replied calmly. She reached out and gently stroked the horse's mane. She leaned her face against the horse's face and rubbed against it. She gripped the reins tightly and whispered, Be good, be good. Pull Unwu up. I beg you. Pull Unwu up. She led the horse slowly and coaxed it to Xiaoya's position. She looked at the boy who was covered in mud. She steadied her trembling voice and said fiercely, Unwu, do what Sis Xiaoya did just now. I'll pull you up quickly. Yi Er looked at the swamp. It was full of holes and there was very little space for them to walk through. She said to Xiaoya, Sis Xiaoya, go back to where you came from just now. It's wide. It can't hold so many people. Yi Er, I'll help you here. You can't help me. Sis Xiaoya, go over there. Yi Er's voice was cold. She pulled the reins and tied them together with the rope she had thrown to Unwu. Xiaoya nodded. Be careful. I will. Unwu pulled the rope tight and frowned. Yi Er, just pull like this. Unwu, it'll be troublesome if you can't pull steadily like this. Also, it'll take too much effort. Just like what Sis Xiaoya did just now. Yi Er, listen to me. It's not easy to walk through here. The space is too narrow. The horse won't listen to you. I'll hold on tight. Hit it hard later. If it pulls me out, I'll let go. Unwu did not dare to imagine what would happen if the horse lost control again and kicked Yi Er into the swamp. Yi Er nodded and slapped the horse's butt. Her hands went numb from slapping, but the horse refused to move. It even retreated a little. Yi Er, if you can't hit it, forget it. Stay away from it. It won't retreat too much. I'll pull it up. Enyu felt as if something sharp had pierced his body from behind. His back stiffened and he let out a muffled groan, but it was barely audible. Yi Er was anxious. Unwu, don't worry. It'll be done soon. She didn't dare to look back at Ainu's body, which was lying flat on the ground, sinking deeper and deeper. She could only sniff at Ainu, causing large drops of sparkling and translucent tears to fall. Yi Er reached into her pocket and found a bunch of keys with a small Swiss Army knife attached to it. It was only 5 or 6 centimeters long, but it cost nearly 2,000 yuan. Jianghu had given it to her, saying that there were some small tools in it that were small and convenient. Yi Er pulled out the knife. Yi Er's gaze became colder and colder. She was still a little afraid. Her heart was beating fast. She held the knife in her hand and aimed it at the horse's butt. Unwu, use your energy. Once you reach me, let go. With that, she stabbed the knife hard into the horse's butt. Screech. The horse whinnied in pain. Yi Er quickly retreated. The horse charged forward. When Unwu was pulled out of the swamp, the horse also sank into the next swamp. Seeing the horse struggling in the swamp, Yi Er bit her lip. She couldn't bear to see it and turned her head away. Unwu quickly stood up. He pulled Yi Er and Xiaoya along the path they came from. They carefully walked out. The horse that had lost its reins refused to move. Unwu said, Forget it. Let's think of a way to get out. This is the border. It won't be too dangerous. Let's walk for a while. It might catch up. Yi Er and Xiaoya nodded obediently. Along the way no one said anything pretentious. Can't you make a call? Unwu asked mildly when they finally walked out of the swamp. Yi Er's hand was still in Yunwu's grip. She didn't break free. She knew that Unwu was just holding her hand out of habit. He was just afraid that she would accidentally fall into the swamp. Among the three of them she was the cleanest. Xiaoya and Unwu couldn't see their original appearances. Their clothes were covered in black mud. The darker the sky, the colder the air. Yeah, I can't make a call. There's a restriction on the number of calls. I don't know why. If you can't make a call, then so be it. Maybe it's natural. Maybe it's man-made. Yunwu's voice became softer as they walked. Ye could no longer see Yunwu's expression clearly. She could only hear that although his voice was weak, it was still very calm. Unwu panted and slowly sat down. The sky was dark, but the moon was still bright. He raised his head and smiled at Ye. His white teeth could be seen. Ye, I need to rest. I pulled Xiaoyu just now and fell into the mud. I'm almost out of energy. You guys keep walking. I'll catch up with you later. Ye sat down beside Unwu. I'm tired too. I need to rest. Xiaoyu leaned against Ye and sat down. She leaned against her. Me too. The three of us should lean against each other. It's so cold. Ye wanted to take off her jacket. I'm dry. To Xiaoyu, I'll let you wear it. There's no need. It's cold, but the wind is very dry. My clothes have been blown dry. Feel it? The mud has dried up. Xiaoyu grinned at Ye. Ye touched Xiaoyu's back. It was true. The mud was so dry that it prickled her hand. She casually touched Yunwu's back. Unwu stood up and dodged. Ye's expression changed. She raised her hand to herself. The moonlight was like silver. Although the color of her hand couldn't be seen clearly, Ye could clearly feel the stickiness. Trembling, she put her hand to her nose and looked at Unwu, who was on the verge of collapsing. She stood up as well. After a few hours, tears rolled down her cheeks again. She choked and whispered, Unwu. When Ye held Unwu in her arms, she started to hate the endless grasslands. There was no place to block out the wind, and the cold wind from the night drilled into their bones from all directions without any scruples. Ye couldn't forget how Unwu looked when he finally collapsed in front of her. He even smiled and told her that he was fine. He was just tired from walking and wanted to rest for a while. Xiaoyu sat a few meters away from Ye. She fiddled with Ye's phone. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't make a call. But the screen turned black. She just held the phone and buried her head in her knees. Is it really necessary for you to change your view of a person to this extent before it can change? At least, Xiaoyu remembered that Unwu had said that after they got out of the swamp, he would hang the uniform she was wearing at home. Actually, the uniform wasn't for the person she was supposed to be serving. It was for Unwu. She couldn't turn her head to look. She only felt terrible. When her life was hanging by a thread, it was a boy who had nothing to do with her who saved her. And now that boy was lying in her best friend's arms. His eyes were closed and he would say a few words from time to time. She heard her best friend sniffling and from time to time she would reply with choked sobs. The horse didn't follow them out. Otherwise they could carry Unwu and continue walking. But that wouldn't do. If a person, especially a man who was over 1.8 meters tall, didn't have any strength, how many women would have the strength to carry him for long? Ye tried before, but she couldn't hold on for long. She and Ye tried to carry Unwu forward, but she wasn't tall enough. All her strength was carried by Ye. Together they couldn't even walk a kilometer. Now they were resting in a place that hadn't changed at all. At a glance, there was only the boundless night sky and the boundless dark grassland. There were no more wildflowers or butterflies. There was only the eerie aura of death. Ye placed Unwu on his side. She placed her clean legs under his head so that he could sleep more comfortably. Her dry coat was wrapped around his body. The temperature difference in the grassland was very large. The night was very cold, but Ye couldn't feel the cold anymore. He didn't know what had pierced his back, but there was a long wound. The smell of blood was really disgusting. Ye. In the darkness, it was hard to see what Yunwu's lips looked like. She could only hear that his voice was very dry, as if he was dehydrated. There wasn't a trace of color in it. Ye touched Yunwu's face and gently comforted him. Unwu, it's daybreak. I'll go find water. Ye, don't feel guilty. Unwu. Ye, actually, I don't need to feel sad. I'm going to die. Even if I didn't come this time, I would still die. Don't talk nonsense. Ye's hand was on Yunwu's face and he couldn't stop trembling. My heart isn't good. I had a heart transplant when I was 8. I don't have a long life to begin with. Unwu said this without much regret. It was as if he was talking about someone else and had nothing to do with him. Do you know Anin? She didn't leave because of the temperature difference in the grassland. She was chased away by me. I couldn't keep her around. Grandpa is a person who plans ahead for a rainy day. Anin is a child he adopted. I only just found out that Anin was a match with me since she was young. Grandpa adopted her so that when my heart fails one day he could swap it with hers. Even though it was night and there were only the stars and moonlight, Ye felt like he was looking at a mirror in front of him. His eyes were wide open in shock. And then grew up with me. She's my little sister. How could I do that? If one day I have to sacrifice my little sister to survive, I can't do it. Furthermore, the surgery might not be a 100% success rate. If I don't live, Anan won't live either. Unwoo sighed. I really can't do it. I've sent Anan away. Even if today's incident didn't happen, I won't be able to live for long, so don't feel guilty, don't blame yourself, just be a good Mrs. Jiang. When the sun rises, you and Sister Xiaoya go to a place with good water plants, maybe you'll meet a herdsman. If you stay here and guard me without contacting the outside transportation, you'll die. Even though Yunwoo's voice was soft, he tried his best to speak in a steady and continuous manner. He thought that this way Ye wouldn't notice his weakness. Ye shook his head. He hugged the boy's head and shook his head. Unwoo, I won't leave you behind. I won't. No matter what the reason is, I won't leave you behind. Hi. Unwoo sighed. Ye, let's talk about something else. Have I ever told you that I like you? Then do you know that I like you? I know. Ye, if I had told you earlier before Jiangzhou that I like you and want to be with you, would you have been with me? Would I? Yes. Unwoo reached out and placed his hand on Ye's thigh. He brought it close to his face and then placed his hand under his face. It was very cold, but at this moment he felt a warm liquid dripping onto the back of his hand. It was warm and very hot. Ye, in your next life please be with me. I'll wait for you, okay? Ye shook his head. Under the moonlight, his face was already glistening. He reached out to wipe the water off his face and bit his lip. He touched Yunwoo's face with one hand and clutched his thigh with the other. I don't believe in the next life. Powerful novel Shinwoo 799. Chapter 721. You really don't understand romance. Unwoo squeezed out a faint smile from his throat. It was as if they were still on that arch street. He stood there with his easel propped up, his eyes as clear as water, glancing at her from time to time. Then he would dip his brush in ink and carefully paint. That voice was just a casual tease. You love Jiangzhou so much. Even if I were to live in this life, you wouldn't marry me. Even if I tried to snatch you away, I wouldn't be able to win. I asked you to make a promise to a next life, but you refused. Petty. Ye clutched her leg, the pain was unbearable. Unwoo, I don't believe in a next life. Believe in it? Let me have some thoughts. At least give me some hope. There was a kind of voice as lonely as snow. There was a kind of waiting as lonely as snow, as white as the sky, with a hint of desolation. Ye shamelessly realized that her heart was hurting. Other than Jiangzhou, she was hurting for another man. Her tears were like diamonds shining under the moonlight, sprinkling on the boy's face. Unwoo. Unwoo let out a long sigh. His breath was getting weaker and weaker. So what if I believe in a next life? Ye held Yunwoo's hand tightly as if trying to hold on to his weak breath. Unwoo, I believe in you. Unwoo chuckled softly with a trace of satisfaction. He had been lying on her leg with his back facing her, but at this moment he turned his head, opened his eyes and looked at Ye. The moon was like silver. Under the clear moonlight, his gaze was as clear as water. The joy in his eyes was as dazzling as the sunlight in the day. Then in the next life marry me. You're not allowed to regret it. I'll let you go in this life and let you live happily with Jiangzhou. I won't regret it. Ye, you can't forget. Remember that you promised me a next life. I won't forget. Unwoo, I won't forget. Ye couldn't see the pair of gems that reflected the moonlight. His eyes closed again. Ye hugged Yunwoo's head tightly. No matter how much she shouted, Unwoo didn't respond to her. Ye's shoulders trembled violently. She choked with grief. Unwoo, don't sleep. Unwoo, you're going to the other world so early. Do you want me to die too? Can't you live a few more years and wait for me? Unwoo. After a while, Unwoo weakly said, Ye, if I'm lucky enough to live a little longer, let me pursue you just once. The thing I regret the most in my life is missing you and letting Jiangzhou beat me to it. What a pity. Ye hurriedly nodded. Okay. Then you must pursue me. The thing I regret the most in my life is not being pursued properly. Unwoo. Anyway, I'm already divorced. You can do it. We're both single. You must pursue me. Ah. Unwoo chuckled, but only he could feel the bitterness in his throat. It was so bitter that even his tongue felt numb. Yes, I'll definitely pursue you properly and learn everything I can about pursuing girls. Yeah, you're the first girl I've ever liked. You're the only girl I've ever liked. I must pursue you. Ye didn't know why, but Yunwu's words were always very coherent. Although he was a little weak, he didn't seem to be panting and seemed very stable. But after he finished speaking, there would be no response for a long time. It was as if this person would never speak again. It caused the surroundings to be shrouded in a heavy aura of death. Countless military off-road vehicles were sweeping the grassland in all directions with their headlights on. The barking of police dogs could be heard one after another on the grassland. Helicopters were flying along the grassland with high-powered searchlights on the ground, searching carefully. Jianghu sat in the helicopter. His ears were filled with the deafening sound of the propellers and motors. He looked out the window. Under the high-powered searchlights, the grassy plains were fanned by the propellers. The wind was blowing, causing ripples on the grassy plains. His brows were furrowed tightly, and his face looked as if it was carved out of stone. It was so cold that it was hard. The meeting was not over yet. When he heard that Yi was missing, he left everything behind and left. The bodyguards had been found, but Yi was still missing. Ever since the search and rescue was arranged, he had not said a word. He only looked at every corner that he could see. He was so serious that even the pilot was a little shocked. There was another person who had the same expression as him. It was Zhuang Yichen, who was sitting at the back of the helicopter. This was the first time Zhuang Yichen and Jiang Zhao were sitting together in public. But their purpose was the same. They were looking for someone. He didn't have the time and mood to reminisce. He just wanted to find that woman as soon as possible. The walkie-talkie was reporting some useless information. Jiang Zhao and Zhuang Yichen could only focus their attention outside. At this time, a long string of coordinates was reported from the walkie-talkie. The pilot replied excitedly, "Roger, Roger. Snow Wolf, Roger. Mayor Jiang, we found 3 people over there. Let's go over now." Jiang Zhao immediately sat down. 3 people? Yes, 3 people. Xiaoya was holding her mobile phone and turned on the flashlight function. She pointed at the helicopter in the sky. "There are people over here. There are people over here." When Zhuang Yichen saw Xiaoya, his heart skipped a beat. Who was that person? Her hair was all black and even her hair was covered with mud. Usually she would not make such exaggerated movements. But he could still catch a familiar figure from those exaggerated movements. On the other hand, Jiang Zhao recognized her at a glance. It was so cold at night and she was not wearing much. The strong light shone on her, but she did not even lift her head. She just hugged the head of the person who was lying on her lap tightly. She lowered her head. Before Unwu was sent to the operating theater, Shi Jintian rushed over. Unwu had been put on N4 drip and was no longer in a coma. In the ward, Shi Jintian was crying on top of Unwu. When he called out his grandson's name, he felt he had aged instantly. Unwu. Unwu pulled Shi Jintian, and Shi Jintian put his ear close to Yunwu's lips. "Don't touch her again. I beg you." Unwu was struggling to speak. Shi Jintian was shocked and looked at his grandson. "You know about it?" This was considered a silent acknowledgement. Unwu knew about Shi Jintian's love for him. When he thought about it, he regretted that he always stayed in the studio. It made his grandfather think that Yi was bothering him. That was why he wanted to kill her to get some peace and quiet. The 2 families would not be hurt. But if Yi was really dead, he would rather die early. How could he get some peace? He touched Shi Jintian's hand and said softly and intermittently, "Yes, I know. But I won't tell anyone. Grandpa, don't touch her again. From the beginning to the end, it was my wishful thinking. She didn't do anything wrong." But Shi Jintian did not expect Unwu to see through him like this. "She is my wish to live. Grandpa promises you." Unwu seemed to be worried and refused to let go of Shi Jintian's hand. "Even if I'm not around, don't touch her. Unwu, you're not allowed to talk nonsense." Yunwu's eyes reddened and he said anxiously, "Grandpa, I didn't even kill Jiang Zhao. How could you hurt her? How could you bear to hurt me like this?" Yunwu's eyes were filled with deep pain. "Do you know how many times I wanted to kill Jiang Zhao? I even loaded the gun. You know how accurate my shooting is. I know how to assemble a gun. If I really wanted to kill him in a chaotic situation, they wouldn't be able to trace it back to me. But Grandpa, you didn't allow it. You said that I couldn't hurt anyone from the Jiang and Qin families. You were talking about righteousness and kindness. But Yi is Jiang Zhao's wife. She is also a member of the Jiang and Qin families. How could you? Unwu, you're a femme fatale. Shi Jintian felt his heart ache when he thought about how Unwu was obsessed with a woman in the past. How could he let a woman ruin Yunwu's life? Once a person died, they would slowly forget everything. Grandpa, you said that a femme fatale? What was the cause of the disaster when I was 8? Unwu calmed down and looked at Shi Jintian indifferently. Shi Jintian didn't expect that Unwu would still use the murder case to provoke him at this time. Grandpa, you should be grateful to her. You should be grateful to her for letting your grandson experience the feelings in this world other than family. At least he didn't come to this world in vain, right? Yunwu's clear eyes overflowed with tears. Grandpa, I love you. I also love. Ye, don't hurt her anymore, okay? Shi Jintian couldn't look into Yunwu's eyes. He turned his head, clenched his fists and said solemnly, okay. The wheeled hospital bed was pushed out of the ward and into the operating room. Shi Jintian chased after it to the door of the operating room. His gaze was locked there without moving. The hospital was arranged by Jianghu. It was a local military hospital. Outside the window, the sky was filled with stars, but he wasn't in the mood to enjoy them. Xiaoya had suffered some cuts in the swamp. Now she was lying on the hospital bed, clean and clean. Medicine was applied to her wounds and she was hooked up to an 4-drip. It was an anti-inflammatory drug. The ward was a little crowded. There were no separate rooms, so Xiaoya and Yi stayed together. Because Yi was in a daze, Jiang Zhao was worried that it was because of the miasma in the swamp, so he patiently stayed with her. Actually, it was just to comfort himself. After seeing Unwu fall into her arms like that, how could he not overthink? Moreover, after hearing Xiaoya's story, Jiang Zhao was upset that he wasn't the one by her side at that time. Xiaoya leaned against the headboard. Zhuang Yichen sat on the round stool in front of the bed and analyzed. Your horse is already submerged in the swamp, but there's something wrong with Yi's bodyguard's horse. There are steel needles under the saddle, but they're not very long. Only when the horse moves harder and harder while riding will the steel needles pierce into the horse's back. You won't notice it for a while. Zhuang Yichen, let's break up. Zhuang Yichen obviously didn't expect Xiaoya to suddenly say something like this. He came all the way here and this was all she said to him? He said coldly, looks like you're too tired. Sleep early. Xiaoya looked up. She thought about how Unwu had saved her while shouting for Yi not to move around. Her tears were about to fall. People would only feel deep sorrow when they were like her, right? How much did Unwu love Yi that he would save someone who had nothing to do with him for Yi? That feeling made her go crazy with jealousy. As her tears fell, she looked up at the man who had already stood up. She pulled out the needle in her hand and threw it away. You can either break up with me or marry me. It's your choice. Don't even think about threatening me. This time, even if you want to kill my whole family, I won't give in. Attention Xinwu 799. Chapter 722. Jiang Zhao heard the argument behind him and turned around. He happened to see Zhuang Yichen's flat back swaying slightly. Nonsense. Zhuang Yichen pressed Xiaoya back into the blanket and turned around to look for the nurse. Xiaoya didn't argue. She lay there quietly. Don't you think it's troublesome? Do you think it's a pity that you didn't collect my body today? Zhuang Yichen turned around. Little demon Qiu, have you had enough? Xiaoya turned her back and pulled the blanket calmly. Anyway, I'm still going to say the same thing. If we don't get married, then we'll break up. This time I'll pretend that I'm dead. Zhuang Yichen, when I knew I was dying, my mind was filled with you. At that time, I was wondering if I should tell you that I seemed to have fallen in love with you. But my hand was outside the quagmire and my phone was in my pocket. I couldn't possibly tell you that I've been with you for 4 years and in the end, that's my only wish. Suddenly, Xiaoya felt a wave of astringent air coming out from her stomach and choking her throat, making her unable to continue speaking. Her face was cupped by the man's large hand. After a while, he said leisurely, do you like a Chinese wedding or a Western one? Xiaoya held the man's hand and covered her face. She cried for a long time before she came back to her senses. She turned around and looked at the man sitting by her bed in shock. What kind of wedding do you like? Chinese or Western? Xiaoya was stunned. Her smile was uglier than her crying face. She happily wrapped her arms around Zhuang Yichen's neck. Zhuang Yichen, did I succeed in forcing you to marry me? Did I? Let's go back and choose a ring and a wedding dress. Xiaoya only knew that the man's voice was soft and gentle. It sounded like he was doting on her, but she ignored the hint of panic in his voice. Jiang Zhao held Yi's hand and asked Zhuang Yichen, can I not know about the wedding? Xiaoya wrinkled her nose and snorted. No, you have to bow. Jiang Zhao laughed. Haha. Yi Er asked Xiaoya, Sister Xiaoya, what gift do you like? Xiaoya shook her head. No, I want cash. When Yi Er saw that Xiaoya was happy, he was naturally happy as well. His mood also improved a lot. No, talking about money hurts our relationship. When Jiang Zhao saw the smile on Yi Er's face, he relaxed a little. Xiaoya hugged Zhuang Yichen's waist and leaned into his embrace as she looked at Yi Er. She was so proud that it seemed like she was showing off. Talking about relationships hurts money. Our friendship is stronger than gold. Zhuang Yichen pushed Xiaoya away and said coldly, no matter how strong it is, you have to take the anti-inflammatory medicine. It's over. When Xiaoya saw that Zhuang Yichen had gone out to call the doctor again, she muttered, he really doesn't understand romance at all. But her eyes were filled with endless happiness. Unwu woke up a few hours after he came out of the operating room. When the sun rose, he asked his grandfather and the servants to buy chocolate-flavored popcorn. In the afternoon, he got out of bed and took the popcorn that the servants bought from the cinema to Yi Er and Xiaoya's place. Coincidentally, Jiang Zhao was there. Unwu acted as though he didn't see him. He walked to the other side of the bed and handed the popcorn to Yi Er. His clear eyes held a gentle smile. It's chocolate-flavored. I don't know if it's the same as the ones you used to eat. Zhuang Yichen frowned. Jiang Zhao reached out to take the popcorn and placed it on the bedside table. It was one thing to be grateful to Unwu for keeping Yi Er safe, but the nature of a love rival didn't change. He said to Yi Er, even though you're not injured, the miasma in the swamp is poisonous. You should be careful and not eat anything carelessly. Popcorn is very explosive. Unwu didn't seem to care about Jiang Zhao. He only looked at Yi Er intently. Yi Er thought about the promise she made to Unwu. She thought about the words he said and the pain in her heart still lingered. She sat up in bed and put on her shoes. She stood beside Unwu. Unwu, thank you. It must be delicious. Her voice choked. She remembered that one time she brought popcorn to the art street and treated him to it. Try it. It's chocolate flavored. It's not bad. Men don't like to eat things like that. What? Nowadays, young men and women all like to eat things like that. They eat it when they watch movies to kill time. She opened the packaging and ate it herself. It turned out that he remembered it after that one time. Jiang Zhao suddenly felt a stone pressed down on his heart. He had never known that Yi Er liked to eat things like that. He had never known. Seeing Jiang Zhao stand up, Unwu smiled. He actually didn't want Jiang Zhao to misunderstand. It was just that there were some things that he wanted to do in the past but couldn't. He wanted to fulfill some of his wishes. He was a little selfish, but he had already made himself magnanimous enough. You rest. I'll go rest too. When Jiang Zhao saw Unwu leave the room, he didn't say anything and followed him out. Yi Er was afraid that Jiang Zhao would do something stupid again, but when she went out, she saw that Jiang Zhao and Unwu were clearly heading in different directions. When Jiang Zhao returned, Yi Er found out that Jiang Zhao had gone to get discharged. On the plane, just as Yi Er was about to speak, the silent Jiang Zhao interrupted her. Yunyi, don't even think about falling in love with someone else. Ah Zhao, I promised Unwu that he would pursue me. Yunyi, you're really something. Jiang Zhao glanced sideways and saw Yi Er looking at him with tears in her eyes. His heart ached. You've only been separated from me for a few days. Ah Zhao, listen to me. I don't want to listen. Unwu is going to die soon. Yi Er reached out to cover her face. She was afraid that she would lose her composure, but she still felt unbearable grief. He only had one wish. Jiang Zhao looked up. He wasn't wearing a shirt or suit, so he thought that his tie was strangling his neck. When he reached out to pull it off, he realized that he wasn't on a business trip. He was only wearing a simple t-shirt. Don't try to fool me with this. Yi Er pressed her palm against her forehead and rubbed it. He had a heart transplant when he was 8 years old. He's going to die soon. When I checked his breathing, he was almost out of breath. After thinking for a long time, Jiang Zhao couldn't calm down when he heard the heartache in the woman's voice beside him. At a time like this, he had actually lost to Xiunwu. Just because he was healthy, Xiunwu was going to die? I can give him other things in return for protecting you, but I don't agree to this. He only wants to pursue me. I won't do anything to let you down. Jiang Zhao looked at Yi Er. How was she asking for his opinion? She was clearly forcing him. Her attitude was so unyielding. He reached out to pinch her chin and pointed his index finger at her heart. Then what about your heart? Does your heart belong to me 100%? Yi Er's eyes suddenly flashed. She avoided his piercing gaze. My heart won't change, Ah Zhao. From the beginning to the end, I've only ever loved one man, and that's you. In the past, now, and in the future. Jiang Zhao released his hand and smiled sadly. Yinyi, you're so straightforward and sure. Are you trying to convince me or yourself? Yi Er refused to back down. She said that she would never go back on her word to Unwu. Never. Because of Yun Hongwei's matter, Jiang Zhao didn't dare to recklessly get close to him. They still lived separately. It wasn't until Enyu returned to Haiqing and began to take on the responsibility of sending Yi Er to work that Jiang Zhao finally couldn't sit still anymore. He directly moved into Zhuang Yichen's house and chased Zhuang Yichen out of 9th Mansion. Yi Er, I realized that the sky is a little gray today. But when I thought of seeing you again, the sky in my heart suddenly turned blue. I wish you happiness. Yi Er opened the door. The person who delivered the flowers at the door handed them to her and took out his own light blue card. It was Yunwu's handwriting. She could almost see how happy he was when they were at the art street. She carried the flowers and went downstairs. Unwu was waiting there. Yi Er, did you sleep well last night? Very well. How about you? Unwu opened the car door for Yi Er. I had a good night too. I had a good night's sleep. And so it went on day after day. Yi Er, when I went to discuss the bid yesterday, I saw a girl in their company's HR department with hair that looked like yours. But your hair is longer than hers. When you tied it up, it was a little curly. Later on, I realized that it wasn't that similar. It was only because you both had a part black and part yellow. I wish you happiness every day. It was a purple card. Yunwu's handwriting wasn't as wild as Jiang Zhao's. It was delicate and strong. Yi Er, after I sent you to work yesterday, it started raining and the roads were very congested. But when I thought of how happy you were walking down the stairs with the flowers I gave you in a ponytail, I suddenly felt like the sky had cleared up. I wish you happiness too. It was a pink card. Yi Er, do you still remember when you wore a white dress? It was very beautiful, just like Xiao Longnu, but you couldn't move. When you stood still, you looked like Xiao Longnu, but when you moved, you looked like Huang Rong. Tell me, am I right? I think you're really cute like this. So I really like this side of you. It was a card that was half white and half bright red. The bright red half was obviously drawn on by Unwu himself. After an entire week, Jiang Zhao couldn't tolerate this anymore. No matter how Yi Er felt about it, he couldn't accept it. But if he spoke more harshly, Yi Er would say, aren't we divorced? And she would say something like, it's not like I've done anything inappropriate with Unwu. We haven't even held hands. Good Lord, so what if they hadn't held hands? Psychological infidelity was still infidelity. At this juncture, could he say that he hadn't even signed the divorce agreement? Could he say that they hadn't gotten a divorce certificate? Of course, he couldn't say that with that woman's IQ. He could still deceive her a little. The reason for their divorce was because of Yun Hongwei. This was a bottom line that no one wanted to cross. He couldn't even tell her that they were still husband and wife. He was thinking that this was his retribution, right? Back then, he was so confident that he could have her in the palm of his hand. With one phone call and timing, even if she had just come out of the bathroom dripping wet, she would still have to run downstairs to see him. He had always been controlling her, but now his emotions were being led by the nose by her. Was this the legendary inner strength backlash? Beauty novel Xinwu 799. Chapter 723. It was a Sunday morning and the sun was shining brightly. The white Maserati opened up and there was a huge bouquet of purple and gold roses in the back seat. It was very beautiful and the bouquet was stuck in the back seat. A smaller girl would probably drown in it if she held it in her arms. Such a rare flower was obviously flown in from abroad. It was very difficult to cultivate and the production was very low. Such a huge bouquet was worth millions. The boy who was driving smiled casually. His features were delicate and pretty. His handsome and elegant temperament attracted the hearts of the young girls on the road. It was a flight. The car drove into 9th Mansion. Today Jiang Zhao did not generously let Yi Er do as she pleased. Instead, he waited downstairs early in the morning. Good heavens, didn't he ask the florist to send flowers today? Such a huge bouquet would crush someone to death. Jiang Zhao walked over. He felt that Unwu did not change much from before. He walked over like a gentleman. Unwu got out of the car and greeted politely, "Good morning, brother Zhao." Good morning. Why did Jiang Zhao feel so uncomfortable? Was he the one who went to look for Xiunwu? Xiunwu was more generous than him? Oh, the mistress wanted to enter the house? Why are you here so early? Unwu took out the flowers from the back seat. The bouquet was too big and blocked his chest. It looked very heavy. However, the boy was so beautiful that he looked like a peach blossom. I'm here to deliver flowers to Yi. Jiang Zhao spat in his heart. Bah, that's my wife. King make it sound like she's the real deal. If it wasn't for the fact that this was not the time to quarrel with his wife, he would have chopped you up. Oh, I'll just bring it home for her. You've spent a lot. Jiang Zhao emphasized the words, bring it home. He took the flowers from Unwu like a gentleman and looked at Unwu meaningfully. Unwu, what trick are you playing? Unwu shrugged innocently. Then I'll have to trouble you, Zhao bro. Then she turned around and got into the car. She looked at Jiang Zhao with a smile in her pure eyes. I'll ask Yi later if he likes it. Jiang Zhao almost vomited blood. Mother***. That was his wife, and he still had to bring flowers upstairs for his mistress. His mistress was much more magnanimous than him. **CK. In Jiang Zhao's mind he had never used so many vulgarities before. However, during this period of time he had used the most vulgarities. Suppression. Suppression. Just as he turned around and went upstairs his phone rang. It was Zhuang Yichen. Hello. Brother Zhao, how long are you going to stay in my house? What's wrong? I can stay as long as I want. Jiang Zhao thought about it. That's not right. What he said was too ominous. Stay for a few more days. How many days is a few days? 2 days or the 9 heavens? I'm buying it for you. What are you shouting for? I'm not short of money, so why should I sell it to you? You're not short of houses, so why do you care how long I stay? Xiaoye likes to stay at 9th Mansion. Then get Xiaoye to come over and stay with Yi. She could help him keep an eye on his enemies. Zhuang Yichen was stunned for a moment. What kind of bro was this? If Xiaoye went over to stay with Yi, then where would he stay? Jiang Zhao said confidently, that's right. What about you? Zhuang Yichen was annoyed. You're going too far. Jiang Zhao laughed. You're being ridiculous. Zhuang Yichen scolded again, you're being unreasonable. Jiang Zhao said, haha, you're making trouble out of nothing. Zhuang Yichen was infuriated by Jiang Zhao. Who's making trouble out of nothing? Jiang Zhao was in a bad mood because of Unwu. Of course he wouldn't let go of the chance to anger Zhuang Yichen to death. Of course it's you. You said that you'd let me stay in the house and now you want to take it back. What kind of logic is that? You're making trouble out of nothing. If that's not making trouble out of nothing, then what is it? Zhuang Yichen had only wanted to call Jiang Zhao to discuss the matter. Xiaoye kept grumbling that she was going to get married, but she was still living in her own house. She felt that her status hadn't improved since she couldn't stay in her husband's house. She even said that living in Qingfeng Garden was making her intestines knot. Living here made her feel like she was an outsider. He said that they should move back to the suburbs, but she said that he usually stayed at 9th Mansion and that she liked living there too. Seeing that Xiaoye was drawing a blueprint and saying that she wanted to design a wedding dress for him, Zhuang Yichen made up his mind and started arguing again. The house is mine. I don't want to let you stay in it. What's wrong? Jiang Zhao laughed out loud. Hugging a large bouquet of flowers, he shook his head. Hearing that Zhuang Yichen was angry made him feel a little better. I want to stay. What's wrong with you? Chase me away if you dare. Xiaoye snatched the phone and said to Jiang Zhao, why are you arguing so early in the morning? Are you guys gay? You're like a married couple and you're even bickering? Xiaoye had become his wife, and her tone was arrogant. In the past she wouldn't have dared to snatch Zhuang Yichen's phone to talk to Jiang Zhao. No matter how bold she looked, she was still afraid of Zhuang Yichen. But now that she was going to be Mrs. Zhuang, she should have some dignity, shouldn't she? Zhuang Yichen pulled Xiaoye into his arms and bit her ear. My dear wife, speak louder. We want our house back. Xiaoye's face heated up and her heart warmed. She was about to fight with Jiang Zhao, but the call was already hung up. When she called again, Jiang Zhao shamelessly turned off his phone. Xiaoye grabbed Zhuang Yichen's collar and shouted, Jiang Zhao, that bastard doesn't play by the rules. He's shameless. Hubby, you have to avenge me. Okay. We'll go back tonight and chase him out. Xiaoye said, Okay. Husband and wife are of one mind. Zhuang Yichen added, so sharp that it can cut through gold. Zhuang Yichen hugged Xiaoye even tighter. Haven't you seen a diamond ring that you like? No. Zhuang Yichen kissed Xiaoye's neck. Why don't we order one? We'll buy a ring after my wedding dress is done. Okay, you can decide on this. Jiang Zhao hung up the phone. *CK he was so angry in the morning. Yunwu made him angry, and now Zhuang Yichen and his wife were showing off their love over the phone to provoke him. Was the whole world laughing at him for being alone? Today he didn't knock on the door and didn't pretend to be a gentleman. He just opened the door. He changed his shoes. Yi had just finished preparing breakfast when she saw Jianghu come in with a big bouquet of purple and gold roses. She looked unhappy and guessed that it was a gift for Moonwoo. Jianghu walked over and threw the bouquet to Yi. With a look of disdain he said, "One bouquet of flowers for $1 million. Remember to ask him to convert it to cash next time. You can use it to supplement your family's expenses." After saying that, he sat down at the dining table like the male owner of the house. He picked up a bowl of porridge and started eating calmly. Yi put the flowers on the tea machine in the living room and sent a message to Unwoo, saying that she liked them very much and that the flowers were very beautiful. She then went to the kitchen and took out some bread and fried eggs for Jianghu. She smiled at Jianghu, who was busy eating. "Why are you here so early today?" Jianghu snorted. "If I didn't come early, would you have gone out for a ride with him?" She held the bread in her hand and wrapped Jianghu's favorite side dishes in it. She handed it over. "Even if he went out, it was just for a ride. Don't think too much. I told you everything clearly, but you still don't believe me? I already told you that he doesn't have any bad intentions." Jianghu took it as the annoying man downstairs. He took a big bite. "I'm here today because I need to talk to you about something." "What is it?" "You have to go to G City with me." "Did something happen to Xinshan again?" Yi was really worried about that beauty. "No, they're getting married soon. Shinkai wants to go and see Xinshan. Because of the Qin family, Shinkai wants me to go with him because we went together last time." Jianghu racked his brains to make up some nonsense. Shinkai was indeed in G City and would go there every week, but he didn't invite him to go with him. However, it didn't matter if he wasn't invited. He would make the invitation a reality in a while. In short, it was right not to let Yi stay in High City. Xiunwu was like a lingering spirit that was a master at picking up girls. When he saw Yi hugging those flowers every day, his eyebrows flew up. "It's not the wedding, so we don't have to go, right? When it's the wedding, we have to go and attend the ceremony anyway. Isn't it normal for us to go? We're not Xinshan's family. How can we follow Shinkai? You're still young. What do you know? Do you think it's just going to see his sister with Shinkai? There are so many things that I can't explain clearly in a short time. I'll tell you slowly on the way." Jianghu felt that it was not a problem for him to fool a woman like Yi. He could make it sound more serious and that stupid little fox could only listen to him obediently. As for an explanation, he really hadn't thought of a good one. Rather than saying that he would tell her slowly on the way, it was better to say that he would think of a way to explain it to her slowly on the way. Just as Jianghu thought, Yi really didn't dare to think about it in detail. She didn't understand the benefits and transactions between these families. At least she didn't understand it deeply. It was just like how Jianghu had analyzed why the Qin family didn't help the Han family last time. How would she be able to figure out the mystery behind this? "When are we going?" Jianghu was delighted. "After breakfast you can pack your things. I'll go back and pack my things too. We'll set off immediately." Yi looked at the clock on the wall. "So soon?" Jianghu realized that his lying had reached another level recently. "Of course. Why else do you think I'm here so early? It's the weekend. I should be sleeping in." Jianghu used his work speed. After eating, he threw down his bowl and left. He also asked Yi to pack her things quickly. When they reached the airport, Jianghu realized that they seemed to be escaping. Yi sent a text message to Unwoo, saying that she was going to G City. Unwoo said that she wanted to have fun. Shinkai was already in G City on Saturday. Jianghu had already told Yi in advance to keep it a secret. When they reached the hotel, Jianghu asked Yi to accompany Xinshan and said that he had something to discuss with Shinkai. As a result, Yi believed that Jianghu had to come to G City. Although Xinshan would be considered a suspect if she had to go through legal procedures, she could still move freely in the Pei family. However, everyone knew that the Pei family was powerful in the south. Even if Xinshan wanted to escape, it would be easier for her to break out of prison. After they left, the Pei family sent a chauffeur to take Yi out for a walk. Yi and Xinshan sat in the back. Xinshan was more silent. This was different from the Xinshan that Yi remembered. Xinshan had been in the limelight for the past 2 years in Haicheng. She was known as a playboy and changed boyfriends one after another. They were either playboys or third-rate celebrities. Other than those who had good looks, none of them were decent. However, at this moment, Xinshan was sitting quietly by the window. She was completely different from the beautiful women in the headlines who wore heavy makeup and showed off their waists. Her black hair was tied up behind her head. She was as still as a puddle of water. She looked like a weak woman who could not withstand the wind. The orange sunlight shone on her face. On her porcelain-white skin, her thin hair glowed faintly. When she looked out of the window, her side profile was so beautiful that it could not be imagined. Ye could not help but swallow his saliva. He patted his chest and asked, "Where do you want to go?" Shen Xian stared out of the window and said faintly, "Accompany me to get a tattoo." There was no discussion. She wanted to get a tattoo. Ye had a Persian chrysanthemum tattoo on his ankle before. He did not know what Shen Xian wanted to get. Shen Xian turned her head and smiled faintly. "I want to get a ring tattoo." Ye frowned slightly. "Ring?" "Yes, ring." Shen Xian turned her head away again. Her voice was choked. Hongcha 866. Chapter 724. In the tattoo parlor, a delicate and white hand lay in the hands of the tattoo artist as he drew the image that Shen Xian wanted. It was an ordinary ring. The ring was decorated with a single or two connected pieces of yezi. Ye asked, "What does this represent?" Shen Xian looked at Ye and smiled. "A four-leaf clover. One piece of yezi is a prayer. 2 pieces of yezi is hope." She prayed that the man who was beaten into a vegetative state by her would wake up. She hoped that he would be the same as before he fell down. Ye didn't ask any more questions. She already understood. Knowing that the 10 fingers were connected to the heart, Shen Xian still wanted the tattoo to be deeper. Ye was a little sad on the day that she accompanied Shen Xian. She didn't know Shen Xian well, but she could tell that even if Shen Xian smiled at her, it was very forced. Hence, Ye didn't say anything after that. She felt that she was a little redundant by Shen Xian's side. On the contrary, Shen Xian had to squeeze out a smile from time to time in order to accommodate her. Ye remembered that Pei Li said that they could go and look at the rings. If they liked them, they could buy them. Ye asked if they wanted to look at the rings. Shen Xian said that she already had a ring. Shen Xian raised her hand and looked at the sky. Her eyes were sharp. Even from the corner of her eyes, one could feel her determination. It was as if she was determined to cut off all paths of retreat for herself. Looking at the ring tattooed on her ring finger, Shen Xian said solemnly, "My ring will never be taken off in this lifetime unless I chop off my hand." Ye was stunned on the spot. Shen Xian's words tugged at her heart. That night they had dinner at Pei Li's house. Pei Li wanted Jianghu to stay in the house, but Jianghu refused and took Ye back to the hotel. Still in the car, Ye's phone rang. She opened her handbag. It was a call from Unwu. Ye picked it up. "Unwu." Jianghu's eyes darkened. "Ye, when are you coming back?" "Ah." It had been less than a day and he was exhausted. He wanted to go back and sleep. Jianghu was a little thick-skinned. He stuck his face close to Ye's phone and listened to the call. "Xianyo, that fellow, he just wouldn't give up. Grandpa is taking me abroad for heart surgery the day after tomorrow. There will be a ball tomorrow night and he wants to invite you." Ye was overjoyed. "Have you found a suitable heart?" "Yes, I found it." "Yes." Ye said, "Yes, tomorrow? I'll definitely be there." Ye hung up the phone and her eyes curved into crescents. When Jianghu heard the contents of the phone call, his nerve endings started to spew fire. "Yunyi, I've let you do as you please for so long. You've had enough. You're having a good time two-timing, aren't you?" Ye put the phone back into her handbag. "I'm not. I told you before that Unwu is just my friend." "You're the only one who didn't believe me. Is there a need to be like this for friends? When Zhuang Yichen was in trouble, didn't you also act quickly? How can it be the same? You and Xiunwu are of the opposite sex. How can it be different? There are people of the same sex who are together. I didn't even suspect that there was something going on between you and Zhuang Yichen. Besides, we're still divorced." Jianghu felt suffocated by Ye's words. He really wanted to take a hammer and knock her out. In Yunwu's art studio at the Shi residence in Haiqing, Unwu sat in front of his desk. There was a stack of letters and envelopes on the table. He folded the letters and put them into different envelopes one by one. At this moment, Shi Jinqian walked in with a glass of warm water in one hand and a small white medicine box in the other. His eyes were full of heartache. "Unwu, take the medicine." Yunwu's face was a little pale. "Grandpa, didn't we go to America around this time last year? And then was there too. We even took some photos together. Where are they? Why are you looking for that? I want to send a photo of me and an NTE when the time comes. If he was no longer around, if he had ever lived in her heart, wouldn't it be better for her to give him her blessings?" Shi Jintian's eyes were slightly red. He handed the water and medicine to Unwu. After watching Unwu take the medicine in front of him, he said, "It's in my study. I'll get it for you later. After your operation, Grandpa will snatch Yunyi away from you and tie her to you for the rest of your life." Grandpa. Upon hearing Shi Jintian's words, Unwu panicked. "Grandpa, regardless of whether the operation is a success or not, I won't be coming back. You can't disturb her." "What do you mean by whether it's a success or not? It must be a success." Yes, it must be a success. But don't go looking for trouble with Yi'er. She has her own life." Unwu was so anxious that his face turned even paler. He clutched his chest and was about to slide down. Shi Jintian hurriedly helped Unwu up. "Hurry up and rest early. I promise you, okay?" The next day it was nighttime. The Shi family in the south had invited all of High City's big shots to a banquet. There were many young masters in Mississippi. At the ball, Jiang Zhao clinked glasses with Qin Fian. Looking at the palace-like banquet, Qin Fian teased, "Brother, you're so generous." It's just a civilized dance." Jiang Zhao gritted his teeth as he watched his wife being held around the waist by another man. The bow tie around his neck felt a little tight. He reached out to pull it. "Stop pulling it. Even if you don't wear such a small bow tie, you'll still feel uncomfortable." After Qin Fian said that, he looked at Jiang Zhao's jealous eyes. He couldn't help but burst out laughing. Jiang Zhao kept looking at Yi'er and Unwu. The steps and rhythm of the waltz turned a boy into a man. They didn't even talk much, they just danced to the music. They had never danced together before, so how come they didn't step on each other's toes? Was this the legendary tacit understanding? He suddenly remembered Qin Fian's advice. Dancing was the easiest way to develop tacit understanding. ****. As soon as he stepped out, the music stopped. He walked to Yi'er and Unwu. They were about to speak when Jiang Zhao pulled Yi'er out of Yunwu's arms with a seemingly gentle smile. Unwu let go and looked at Jiang Zhao's actions with a smile in his eyes. He bowed slightly to Yi'er in a very gentlemanly manner to express his gratitude. Yi'er felt a little awkward as she was dragged out by Jiang Zhao. Unwu looked at Yi'er's obedient manner. He scratched his head and laughed. Since Jiang Zhao cared so much about her, she would definitely be happy in the future. Yi'er was pushed into the car, pulled out of the car, pulled up the stairs and pushed into the house. Yi'er remembered Yunwu's words when he brought her to the dance floor. "Why don't you provoke Jiang Zhao a little? You'll definitely like the way he looks when he's jealous of you. A girl should make the man she likes nervous for her. Only then can she satisfy her vanity, right?" "How did you know?" "In order to pursue you, I did a lot of research." Yunwu's smile was pure and clean. At this moment she looked at Jiang Zhao's ashen face and thought about Yunwu's words. Something warmed her heart, but she didn't show it. As soon as the door closed, the man pressed against her. When his lips touched hers, there was still a wisp of wine fragrance. The force of his grinding on her lips was hurried and heavy, and the breath coming out of his nose was also heavy. Occasionally he would take a deep breath as if he was panting. The hand that lifted her skirt didn't touch her legs like before. Instead, it went straight for Les's sexy underwear and pulled it off. She looked up at him and saw his eyes tighten. There was a dangerous glint in his eyes. The corners of his lips curled up into a naughty smile. "Looks like I should satisfy you properly, lest you go around seducing men all day long." "Seducing men, don't you think so, my vixen wife?" There was an uncontrollable impulse in her body, and her eyes were already rippling with the spring breeze. She skillfully lifted her leg and hooked it around his tight waist, and seductively reached out to unbutton his shirt. She smiled coquettishly and said, "Thank you, Lord Hubby, for your consideration." Hearing the woman call him that, Jiang Zhao's heart skipped a beat. Looking at her watery eyes that were shrouded in love, he couldn't believe why she called him that. He grabbed her hand that was unbuttoning his shirt and asked slowly in a low voice, "Who's your husband?" Yi'er supported her waist and rubbed against Jiang Zhao's body. Her voice was charming. "Isn't it you?" Looking at the woman who looked like she was about to panic, the man grabbed the woman's leg that was hooked around his waist with one hand and unbuckled his belt as he lowered his head to nibble on the woman's neck. The tip of his tongue circled under her sensitive earlobe, and then he used his teeth to scrape her earlobe. He said hoarsely, "Are you only saying that because you want it now?" The woman's hand touched the man's checkered abs and felt as if she had been scalded. All the way down, the desire there had already risen. Looking at its aggressive appearance, one could tell how much that thing wanted to do. "Ah Zhao, haven't we not gone to get a divorce certificate yet?" Jiang Zhao looked at the woman with a sly smile and gritted his teeth. You 1,000-year-old fox. Right now he wanted nothing more than to press her to the ground and kill her. To think that he had always thought that he had hidden it well. It turned out that she had always known that they were not divorced. Knowing that they were not divorced, she still allowed him to live outside and even let other men pursue her. She even separated from him, causing him to not even know what meat tasted like. This bastard. All the firewood and fire were piled together, just like the man and woman piled together. Hubby, I was wrong. Please forgive me, then you'll have to serve me well today. Pfft. After rounds of competition, the television program came to an end. Xiaoye and Yi Er were packing up their belongings. Xiaoye had her assistant around, so she was very free. She patted Yi Er's back. I can't bear to part with them. Yeah, me too. I think I have some feelings for them. Next time if there's an opportunity like this, you must call me. Xiaoye shrugged. This time she helped Yi Er with the clothes. Although the money was not much, she was very happy. In the past, Zhuang Yichen had helped her with everything. But this time it was considered her own business, right? The next time you walk the runway you can do something special. I'll get my dancers to walk the runway. You can dance the tango for an evening gown show. Xiaoye hugged Yi Er and kissed her on the cheek. Good idea, Yi Er. You're getting more and more business-minded, ha. The two of them were now living in the 9th mansion. When they had competitions they would be at the same place, so they always went out together and went home together. The culprit had not been caught and there was no news at all. Jiang Zhao never dared to let his guard down. The bodyguards were still following them, so Yi Er did not dare to say anything. After saying goodbye to Xiaoye they prepared to go home. Attention Songshu 566. Chapter 725. She retrieved the letter from the mailbox downstairs. When she saw the American postmark, Yi Er was a little excited. She started to open the letter even before she reached home. She could recognize Yunwu's handwriting at a glance. Unwu had practiced calligraphy before and his handwriting was very beautiful. The handwriting was elegant and masculine, and it was very similar to Yunwu's. Looking at these words, Yi Er felt that Unwu was smiling at her. Yi Er, hello, it's been 3 weeks since I last wrote to you, right? My surgery was a success. I'm just telling you. Are you very happy for me? Your show should be over by now, right? How is it? Do you feel a sense of accomplishment? N has also been learning to dance recently. I keep telling her that it's too late for her to learn, but she says that girls should know how to twist and turn. I really don't know whether to laugh or cry. I think this girl is really a little annoying. She keeps pestering me to watch her dance. I feel that I need to write more recently. And doesn't like it when I call you. I think I'll just let her be. Don't reply to me if I believe you. I'm afraid she'll be angry. Yi Er ran into the house and called Jiang Zhao. Zhao, did you know? Unwu seems to be in a relationship with an An. What nonsense are you talking about? It's true. He wrote me a letter. His words are full of love for an An. You're so happy that there's one less person who has a crush on you? How so? Unwu has someone he likes. I'm very happy. Jiang Zhao also heaved a sigh of relief. If you're free in the afternoon, come and pick me up from work. Okay. Yunwu's letters came quickly. Sometimes they were sent by international express delivery, and sometimes they were sent by post. The postmarks were dated from 3 to 5 days to 2 to 3 weeks. Yi Er received the 9th letter from America. Yi Er, hello, Haicheng must be very hot recently, right? It's already autumn, right? I'm fine. After the surgery and didn't allow me to go out. I was surrounded by servants every day, so I was a little annoyed. Today I went out with an N and Grandpa to play. I wanted to go to a crowded place, so and made the decision to go to the Empire State Building. She even took a lot of photos. Don't you think N is becoming more and more like a child? After coming to America she was much happier. Grandpa liked her more and more now. She was actually a good girl, right? I'm going to sleep. A young and mature girl like you should learn more from the current An. Sleep early or you'll grow old quickly. Yi Er looked at the three of them in the photo. Shi Jintian stood in the middle while Unwu and An stood beside him. An's smile was indeed a lot wider than when she was in Haicheng. Was it because she felt happy now? Yi Er looked at the photo and felt a pang in her heart. She didn't know why, but she started to cry. Silly, shouldn't Unwu be happy now that he's happy? Seriously. Yi Er put the letter back into the envelope and took it upstairs. There was a big jewelry box on the dressing table. She poured out all the jewelry and put Yunwu's letter into it like a treasure. Yeah, Grandpa said that he still likes the sky in Canada and that there are fewer people. It's more suitable for him to live here when he's old, so he's taking over all the businesses in the country. We won't be going back in the future. And N has been getting more and more petty recently. Yesterday I just mentioned that I wanted to write to you and she got into a big fight with me. I think it's better that I don't write to you anymore. Her temper is getting worse and worse. Sai, I actually didn't dare to tell N that I made a promise to you in our next lives. I was afraid she'd be angry. Yeah, although I won't write to you anymore, I still wish you happiness and that you'll always be beautiful, just like when I first met you. Unwu. Sure enough, from then on, Yi did not receive any more letters from Unwu. She looked at the jewelry box that was not full a few times and felt that something was missing. There were a total of 13 letters in the jewelry box. Only the first Unwu said, Yi, it's my first time in America. I miss you very much. After that, it was always an long and short. At that time, in a foreign country at the Seattle Lakeside Cemetery in America, there was an old man. Although he did not look thin and weak, he had a head of white hair. The girl standing beside him was dressed in plain black. She was holding orange flowers in her hands. Her expression was blank, but her cold eyes were filled with tears. There was a photo on the tombstone. The boy's eyes were pure and clean. The corners of his mouth were only slightly curved, but it was as if he was instantly bathed in sunlight. When the old man bent down and reached out his hand, his whole body was trembling. His wrinkled hand touched the photo on the tombstone. He choked out, Unwu, Grandpa didn't find trouble with her. Are you relieved? It was just that this old man's choked voice made the girl who originally looked like a girl burst into tears. She still remembered how heartless Unwu was when he chased her away. But he did that only to protect her. If she had known earlier that there was no suitable heart, even if she had to die, she would have been willing to exchange her life for his. How was she going to live alone in the future? Shi Jintian sat on the ground, hugged the tombstone and kowtowed to it. Tears fell drop by drop. What fell was his heart's blood. He had read every letter that Unwu had written to Yi, every sentence. According to his grandson's request and time, he had sent the letters from America one by one. He still remembered that his grandson had snuggled in his arms and quietly talked to him for the entire night. In this life, Unwu had never said so much. Ever since he changed his heart at the age of 8, he had never said so much. Grandpa, let me tell you. Back then, I went there to draw because I wanted to see Yi. Sai, at that time, I didn't know that feeling was like. I was so slow, too slow. I've seen many of her expressions. Happy, sad, sly, disappointed, hopeless, hopeful. In short, I've seen many of them. Grandpa, I didn't know that being able to see a person's emotions was because of excessive attention, and excessive attention was because I liked her too much. I liked her too much. Grandpa, in the past 20 years, the happiest time of my life was when I was drawing on that street, and when I came back from the grasslands, I wrote her cards and sent her flowers every day. Sai, I still remember that she pitied me and thought that I was a poor artist who couldn't afford the rent. She gave me the money to pay the rent so that I could live a better life. She said that boys mature later and can still grow up at 18 to 19 years old. Sai, she didn't even know my name back then and she actually gave me money randomly. Grandpa, since I was young, you taught me to be wary of people and not to trust anyone casually because anyone around you could harm you. But at that time I really believed her. I believed that she was a kind girl and that she wasn't sent by my enemies to harm me. She was purely afraid that I would suffer. Grandpa, I really believed that she was actually very kind. I'm thinking that at that time she probably liked me a little because I felt that she wasn't someone who was very compassionate. She was actually very greedy and stingy. Grandpa, I think that at that time she probably liked me a little, right? That day Shi Jintian had been holding Unwu in his arms the whole time. Unwu was lying on his chest, and the clothes on his chest were extremely wet and sticky. All that was left were Yunwu's tears. He hugged Yunwu's head and said, "Good grandson, Grandpa believes that Yi liked you back then. It's just that at that time you guys didn't understand." Unwu sighed softly and said, "Sai, luckily I didn't understand." Luckily, the old man hugging the tombstone sat there until sunset. Then he slowly looked up and said, "And you should learn to manage the business. Don't forget that your surname is also Shi." And nodded heavily. Okay. The setting sun stretched the silhouettes of the old man and the young girl in the cemetery, cutting into a lonely silhouette. The late autumn maple leaves in Haicheng were like fire. The pure white wedding gown trailed on the maple leaves and the colors were distinct. Hearing the photographer skillfully teasing the model, the man wrapped his arms around the woman's waist and carried her up. Their smiles followed the click-click sound of the shutter. They ran. Ye had her wish fulfilled and had her wedding photo shoot taken. From time to time, she would run over to the photographer to take a look at the photos in his camera. The photographer looked at the photos on the camera screen with satisfaction and zoomed in. Don't look anymore. She's definitely more compatible and beautiful than a professional model. Ye blushed for a moment and turned to look at Jianghu. His suit hugged his muscular body and his handsome face. Needless to say, he looked very attractive and annoying. Jianghu's gaze landed softly on the woman. How much longer do you want to take? What do you mean by how much longer do I want to take? Don't you want to take photos with me? Are you annoyed with me again? How long have we been married? You're already annoyed with me, aren't you? I just want to take a wedding photo shoot, and you're already annoyed with me, aren't you? Then how are we going to survive for the next few decades? Jianghu stared blankly at the woman who was looking at him with her hands on her hips. In the end, he hugged her waist and kissed her on the cheek. The smell of affection was so overwhelming. I think the night view in Haicheng is not bad. Why don't we take a night shot? Dawn is not bad either. Why don't we take a dawn shot? Tomorrow's weather might be better than today's. Why don't we go overseas and take a photo shoot? It'll be fresh. Anyway, we can just continue with the shoot. Ye's legs went weak. Was this man trying to torture her to death? She turned to look at the photographer. Sir, are we done with this group? Yes, this is the last group. Then hurry up and finish it. My mouth is stiff from smiling. Jianghu couldn't help but laugh. Everyone in the Qin family was preparing to go to Jianghu, which was also a bustling city in the east. This time they were going to hold the wedding ceremony for Ye and Jianghu. Old Master Jiang urged them again and again, but Jianghu kept finding excuses and reasons. It wasn't that he didn't want to go back for the wedding, but he had to remove the barrier in Ye's heart before he could go back. On the private jet, Qin Fian was flipping through the newspaper. He didn't seem very happy. Instead, he kept complaining, "What kind of date is this?" He knew that I was going on a business trip at this time, yet he chose to hold the wedding at this time. What the hell? Jianghu couldn't be bothered with him. He hugged Ye like he was about to be the groom. When they first got married at the Qin family's banquet, he didn't feel this way at all. At that time his heart was burping. Fei Yu was holding a novel and reading it quietly. After Qin Fian said this, she gently picked up the fruit tea on the table and took a sip. "Brother, is your sweetheart in Xingzhou town?" "What? Don't you always go to Xingzhou town at this time of the year? What nonsense are you talking about?" Qin Fian opened the newspaper again and read it leisurely. Fei Yu placed the fruit tea on the table. Her black hair was like satin, and she was wearing a white round-necked t-shirt. She didn't look fancy at all, but when paired with her quiet and beautiful face, it made people feel comfortable no matter how they looked at it. A young girl's lips always had a seductive shade of pink. When she licked her lips, the light on them was like jelly. She smiled gently and hugged the book to her chest. She took a deep breath and looked at Qin Fian's face that was covered by the newspaper. "I'm not talking nonsense. There's no plane from High City to Starfield Town. Brother, you drive there every time. I'm not stupid. The toll in your drawer has never stopped, and you only keep the toll receipts to Starfield Town. Isn't it because you want to commemorate something?" Welfare Songshu 566. Chapter 726. Qin. Fei Yu. Qin Fian threw the newspaper aside and stood up to grab Fei Yu. "You damn thing, how dare you rummage through my drawer?" Fei Yu jumped up and ran towards Jianghu. Ye quickly got out of Jianghu's arms and hid in Jianghu's embrace. Jianghu circled Fei Yu and glared at Qin Fian. "How old are you? Do you still want to hit Fei Yu in front of so many people?" As soon as he said that, Qin Rongfang's face darkened. He sat on the wide seat and slapped the armrest. "How dare you hit your sister? Try touching a single strand of her hair. If you dare to touch a single strand of her hair, I'll throw you out of the plane today." Qin Fian felt wronged. What was going on? It was clearly not his fault. That little girl had a pure appearance and actually did things like peeping into his privacy. Now these people were actually helping her. This was too much. With Jianghu's protection, Fei Yu sat on Jianghu's lap and did not get off. She hugged Jianghu's neck and looked at Qin Fian with a little grievance. "Brother's words are really interesting. You've rummaged through my drawer a lot and peeked at the love letters other boys wrote to me. I was just returning the favor." Qin Fian saw that Fei Yu had found a backer. Now he recognized the girl's true nature. Good for you, Qin Feiyu. If I hadn't dealt with those crooked things of yours, would your grades be so good now? That's really funny. Boys chasing me is crooked? Then is it proper for you to like men? Great, this fire burned Qin Fian again. Especially at Jiang Zhao's wedding, how could Qin Rongfang not be anxious? Qin Fian. You still have the face to talk about your sister. Go sit in your own seat. Qin Fian looked around. Some people were smiling at him maliciously. Why did they feel like they had fallen into a trap? Just as he sat down and prepared to ignore the outside world and focus on reading the tabloids, Fei Yu's gentle and soft young girl's voice faintly drifted over. I don't know if Big Brother wants to buy land in Starfield Town. Looking at the toll receipts, there are at least dozens of them. He goes there at least a few times a year. What kind of big project is that? Why hasn't it been settled yet? Qin Fian shook open the newspaper and said indifferently, Qin Feiyu, be careful. There will be snakes all over the floor when you sleep tonight. Feiyu was so scared that his face turned white. He was so scared that tears came out of his eyes. I. Hearing Feiyu's frightened voice, Qin Fian had just chuckled twice when his calf was suddenly hit by a stick. Seeing that it was Qin Rongfang walking over, he picked up the stick and hit his leg. You clearly know that your sister is timid, yet you still scare her. If you scare her again, she'll be afraid of strangers in the future. She's timid? Come on. I can't see that at all. Bam. Another hit. Although it wasn't heavy, it still represented Qin Rongfang's attitude. Ye took out a handkerchief to wipe Fei Yu's tears. It's okay. Your brother is just scaring you. He wouldn't do such a thing. Thinking of the house full of snakes, Fei Yu was so immersed that goosebumps appeared all over her body. Zhao Gij and Sister Yun are the best. My brother is a bastard. This group of people was Jiang Zhao, Ye, Qin Fian, Fei Yu and Qin Rongfang. Other than the servants, there were a total of 5 people. Because the others had not arranged things properly, they were a step late. It was quite lively along the way. At the airport exit. The first time Ye saw Jiang Zhao's younger brother, Jiang Feng, he was shocked by his enthusiasm. He was 186 centimeters tall. Although he was dressed fashionably, he was definitely not childish. His buzz-cut hair gave him a unique personality. The smile on his handsome face was always a little mischievous. When he opened his arms to hug them, it was as if there was a burst of youth burning in him. Jiang Feng had only returned to the country for less than a month. Ye thought that handsome men were used to being unrestrained overseas. But later on, Jiang Zhao told her that Jiang Feng had always been like this. Only then did Ye understand the saying, the dragon has 9 sons, each with his own merits. His uncle's son, Jiang Rui, who was the eldest son of the Jiang family, brought his wife and son Jiang Mian to the airport to pick them up. Ye carried Dianmian in his arms. Sister, Dianmian is pressing down again. Don't carry him. Let him walk on his own. Once this bad boy touches a beauty, he refuses to get off the bed. He's so annoying. I'm not annoying. Little Dianmian is so cute. Auntie is so cute. Dianmian cupped Ye's face with his chubby hands and kissed him. Gosh, sister, look at how passionate Dianmian is. Jiang Zhao leaned over to Ye's ear. Honey, don't be envious. If we work harder in bed at night, we can make one too. Ye's face flushed red as though it was on fire. Jiang Zhao had his own house in Jiang district. He had told Jiang Feng in advance to help him get someone to tidy it up. Hence, the Qin family stayed in Jiang Zhao's small villa instead of staying in a hotel. It was very lively. Usually, even in Haiqing, it was impossible for a family to stay in one house like this. Qin Rongfang was very happy. On the first day, the Qin family and the Qin family had dinner together. They almost stayed up all night because men always had endless things to talk about. It was the same on the second day. On the third day, they felt that it was too boring. That night, Ye and Fei Yu both wanted to go to the beach to play. They didn't want to trouble Jiang Zhao and Qin Fian, so they discussed with Jiang Zhao and Qin Fian that they would drive there. Qin Rongfang wasn't interested in the beach. Moreover, his schedule was very fixed. He didn't want to go with the youngsters. The waves crashed against the rocks. Wave after wave, they retreated and came back again. Fei Yu pulled Ye and asked, "Why is there no barbecue at the beach? Where did you see that there must be barbecue at the beach?" Fei Yu was a little disappointed. "I saw it on the internet. I thought it would be very interesting." The waves retreated and came back again. Ye and Fei Yu looked over. There was a white thing that didn't seem to be retreating. Was it a rock? How could a rock be white? Even a shell couldn't be that big? A person. A dead person. There was actually a dead person lying on the beach. Brother. Jiang Zhao. Fei Yu and Yi Er took a few steps back and screamed. Jiang Zhao and Qin Fian were shocked by the two women's voices. They were originally chatting about some business and the latest situation at a distance from the two women. At this moment they rushed toward the two women like two arrows. Jiang Zhao and Qin Fian didn't seem to be afraid of the dead body. Jiang Zhao moved Yi Er and Fei Yu further away and observed quietly. Another row of waves came and hit the dead body. The waves retreated again. He lifted his trousers with both hands and squatted down. Qin Fian also squatted down. He turned on the flashlight function of his mobile phone and shone it at the dead body lying on the beach. Under the bright light they could finally see clearly. The white t-shirt was rolled up by the waves and the waist was exposed. There was a large area of bruises. It looked very thin. Pulling the shirt up a little, the entire back was covered with bruises caused by heavy blows. The arms, the back of the neck, and the places with wounds had been soaked white and the wounds were swollen. Fei Yu had never seen a dead person before. This was the first time she saw a back covered with bruises. She was so scared that her eyes were about to fall out. Yi Er covered Fei Yu's eyes. Fei Yu couldn't help but look. Call the police. It's probably a murder. Jiang Zhao shook his head. Qin Fian flipped the body over and curiously put his finger on a face that was also covered with bruises. He put his finger to the nostrils. Brother, it's still breathing. Hearing this, Fei Yu ran over and bent down to grab Qin Fian's clothes. Brother, if it's still breathing, hurry and send it to the hospital. If we send it to the police, they'll just do it casually. When the time comes, it'll definitely die. It's not a man to not save someone. Qin Fian tilted his head and glared at Fei Yu. The sea breeze blew Fei Yu's black hair up like a veil floating in the wind. You haven't learned anything from Grandpa. That's not how you should be a Buddhist. By meddling in other people's business, you're inviting trouble. This is murder. Do you know that it's murder? Look at Grandpa, I'm kind and charitable, but have I ever casually saved someone who was about to be murdered? Fei Yu tugged at Jiang Zhao again. She was usually very gentle, but now she was anxious. Brother Zhao, don't you think we should send him to the hospital if it's still breathing? Look at how badly he's injured. If we throw him to the police, what if they don't care because they're afraid of trouble? You're the mayor. You're an official. How can you be as cold-blooded as my brother? Jiang Zhao's job was different from Qin Fian's after all. He stood up and took out his cell phone. When he made the call, he said, "Let's send him to the hospital and then call the police. Besides, I was the one who called the police. If he's breathing, we have to think of a way to save him. I'll give brother a call. He has a comrade named Lu Zheng." Qin Fian stood up and laughed. "Aha, the key is that we can use brother's name to get a discount or renege on the debt." Jiang Zhao rolled his eyes at Qin Fian. "You don't have to constantly remind me that you're an unscrupulous businessman." Although Fei Yu wanted to save him, she didn't dare to go over and take a look. She just held Yi Er's hand and was still a little scared. It didn't affect anything because of the rescue. After the patient was sent to the hospital, no one cared about him anymore. The Jiang family's second grandson was getting married. Old Master Jiang personally made a phone call and held a banquet. The Jiang family was a famous family in the East. They had a strong political background and strong commercial capital. Old Master Jiang was highly respected in the entire East. Those who could be invited by him were naturally important figures. For a time, all the important figures in the East gathered in Jiang district. Those who didn't receive an invitation but only heard the news also came uninvited. The five-star hotel under Jiang Zhao's name had already emptied all the rooms near the hotel for a week when Jiang Zhao decided to hold the banquet. They didn't accept any reservations and made proper arrangements for all the guests. Everything was taken care of. On the contrary, Jiang Zhao and Yi Er had nothing to do other than trying on their own gowns. Jiang Zhao and Xiangwan were drinking tea and letting Xiangwan take Yi Er out shopping. "How is it? Brother is very generous this time, isn't he? I won't take a single cent from you." Jiang Zhao didn't thank him. Instead, he became even more aggressive. "Hey, but you still have to give me a red packet." "Red packet? Last time when you held your engagement in Haiqing, I gave you a big red packet. A bank card worth 1 million yuan. This fellow wants to snatch my money again? You said it's an engagement. This time it's my wedding. Isn't it still a wedding?" Jiang Zhao sipped his tea lazily and explained slowly, "There are silver weddings and golden weddings. An engagement and a grand wedding are different." "What? Eldest young master, you're the famous eldest young master in Jiang district. How can you bear to give your younger brother a red packet? Jiang Rui smiled coquettishly. Eldest young master is called by others, not by family members. It has nothing to do with you. So, I don't have money but I can give you my life. Add, Hongcha 866. Chapter 727. Jiang Zhao leaned over but there was no one around. Still he deliberately looked around. Brother, I remember very clearly what you gave Su Ling in the past and where you went to eat. Also, I remember that because Su Ling liked the lake crabs in High City, you called me early and asked me to order them, keep them in ice and fly them over to you from High City as soon as possible. Jiang Zhao sighed. Although I know that you and sister-in-law are in love now, look at how bored she is. I'm bored too. I really want to chat with her. Sister-in-law trusts you. She definitely won't let her imagination run wild. Just treat it as if nothing happened and talk about the past to relieve her boredom. Jiang Zhao glared at Jiang Rui. Why are you so insidious? Aren't you afraid of retribution for doing something so immoral on your wedding day? Jiang retorted. Jiang Zhao shrugged. Anyway, it won't kill you. Look at you. It's as if you want to eat me. Jiang Rui said, it's 100,000 this time. It's a dream if you want another million. Brother, there's a policy in High City recently. It's about hotels. It's a support for 7-star hotels. Jiang Zhao paused. Jiang Rui spat at Jiang Zhao. Vampire. 1 million. Deal. Thanks, brother. I'm going to pick up my wife. Enjoy your tea. Jiang Zhao stood up happily. He didn't care about Jiang Rui's 1 million red packet. For him, 1 million was just a number. It was mainly because he missed the fun of fighting with Jiang Rui since childhood. He looked forward to Jiang Rui coming back to bite him in 2 days. Then he would fight back. Just thinking about it made him happy. When Jiang Zhao walked out and closed the door, Jiang Rui held the teacup and laughed. 2 days later, Jiang Zhao received a call from Lu Zheng, informing him that the patient had woken up. However, he refused to speak when questioned by the police. There was no problem with his vocal cords, so the police wanted him to go over and ask him in detail about the situation. Jiang Zhao and Yi Er were very busy. Tomorrow was the wedding banquet. Although they had nothing to do, just the things they had to prepare were enough to give them a headache. Therefore, Qin Fian brought Fei Yu to Lu Zheng's hospital. The condition of the ward was very good. As Jiang Zhao was the one who informed him that he had to think of a way to save the patient, he might be useful to Jiang Zhao's political future in the future. Therefore, Lu Zheng arranged for a high-class VIP ward. The boy looked to be around 17 to 18 years old. He was wearing a hospital gown. He was clearly the victim and there were bruises on his face. His hair was messy but he didn't look disheveled at all. Instead, he had an indescribable air of nobility. He propped himself up with a pillow behind him and stared coldly at the wall. The bruises on his face were greenish with a tinge of yellow, but they were almost gone. Qin Fian and Fei Yu propped themselves up on stools and sat at the end of the bed. The policeman held a pen and asked when the parties involved were awake. Mr. Qin, what was the situation when you discovered the victim? We were walking by the beach. It was my sister and sister-in-law who discovered him first. Please describe the situation in detail. It was the same as what I told you the last time. He was lying on the beach with many injuries on his body. At that time, we wanted to call the police because we were worried that someone might have murdered him. But you didn't call the police immediately. Qin Fian looked at the serious policeman in amusement. How boring. What was he doing here? He was asking meaningless questions. He asked the same questions the last time and now he was asking again. My sister said that she was still angry and wanted to save him first. She was worried that if we called the police, those who could live would be tortured to death. Therefore, we were more assured that we would pay for sending him to the hospital. My sister said that we couldn't leave him in the lurch. The policeman's expression changed. Fei Yu tugged at the corner of Qin Fian's clothes and said timidly, Brother, if you say that, what if they take revenge on me? After all, we're in Jiang district and we're not familiar with the place. With the old master of the Jiang family and the eldest young master of Jiang district backing you up, what are you afraid of? Although we're only in-laws with the Jiang family, we're still legal citizens. We've done a good deed. Why should we be afraid of the police's revenge? Fei Yu, you shouldn't think of the police like that. After Qin Fian finished speaking, he raised his eyebrows and glanced at the policeman who was about to explode. Sure enough, when he heard that he was in-laws with the Jiang family, the policeman immediately became quiet. When he took the statement, the seriousness on his face lessened. Mr. Qin is right. How is that possible? Fei Yu said, Oh, Then he leaned closer to Qin Fian. After the incident on the plane, Qin Fian wanted to pinch Fei Yu. This guy was really a tyrant at home. Once he was outside, he was afraid of strangers. Now he knew that his brother was reliable? Heartless little thing. The policeman looked at the boy who was sitting there motionlessly. The injuries on your body were found to be caused by a blunt object. Do you still remember the scene at that time? The boy didn't turn to look at the policeman. Instead, he stared at the wall and looked at Fei Yu. Although his eyes were as cold as before, they didn't blink. Fei Yu kept leaning on Qin Fian's side. But no matter what the policeman said, the boy sitting on the bed didn't speak. Where are you from? What's your name? Who's in your family? What a headache. You don't even say a word. Where should I send you? Should I send you to the reception center? Fei Yu raised his head at this time. The boy's gaze softened, revealing an undisguised sadness and pity. His eyes lowered as if he was begging. The boy's hand that was currently on an 4-drip was placed on the thin blanket, his 10 fingers slender and beautiful. The contours of his face looked like they had been carved and scraped by a thin razor. If it weren't for the bruises on his face, how beautiful would he be? Fei Yu swallowed. Brother, why don't we take him back? It's not like there's one more person to eat anyway, right? He's also homeless. When he remembers, we'll find the police. The policeman immediately wanted to throw away a burden. That's the best. Qin Fian stood up. No. He took Fei Yu's hand and said coldly to the policeman, we've already told you everything we know. Let's go. Fei Yu was dragged out by Qin Fian. When they reached the corridor, Qin Fian scolded Fei Yu. What's wrong with your brain? What kind of person is he? How dangerous is he? He was murdered. Murdered, do you understand? Put away that little sympathy of yours that you're showing at any time. When the time comes, you'll cause a lot of trouble for yourself. Fei Yu said. Fei Yu curled her lips and left reluctantly with Qin Fei Yu. The next morning, it was only 5 o'clock, but the old house of the Jiang family was already busy. A wedding was always grander than an engagement. Moreover, in order to show that his wedding was better than Qin Rongfang's, Master Jiang used all means. Jiang Rui was mature, steady and thoughtful. Everything that was assigned to him was done very well. Qin Rongfang said disdainfully, it's just that the Qin family doesn't run a hotel. What's the big deal? Translator. WQL Editor. Ali. Master Jiang put on his neat military uniform and hung his Medal of Honor on his chest. Straightening his back, he looked at himself in the mirror and felt very proud. Although the military uniform looked a bit big, his back was straight and majestic. Qin Rongfang sat on the sofa behind Master Jiang. The button-down shirt he wore today was dark red. He had silver hair and snow-white eyebrows which looked very festive. He sneered disdainfully. What's the big deal? Didn't you just fight when you were young? You only know how to hold on to the past and take advantage of your seniority. Old Master Jiang was so happy that his eyebrows flew up. It's not a big deal, it's not a big deal. My Rui is not very promising. He only owns about 100 hotels in the country, and he even has a small company that earns some money a year. What's the big deal? But the people from the famous families in Jianghu have to call him young master when they see him. Some people who are older than him have to call him that. Oh, it's really not a big deal. Our Zhao Zhao is not a big deal either. He became the mayor at a young age. In the future, he entered the provincial party committee and the central government. Oh, the position of the Jiang family in the east can't be more stable. When Qin Rongfang heard Master Jiang talking about Jiang Zhao, he was so anxious that he stood up and said loudly, Zhao Zhao was brought up by me. It has nothing to do with you. His surname is Zero Jiang. I can't help it. I really can't do you a favor. The Jiang family has a family tree. If Zhao Zhao has a child in the future, his surname will be Zero Jiang. Do you know that? Qin Rongfang was so anxious that he was trembling. This old fart only knew how to use this matter to rebuke him. Old Master Jiang said in a sarcastic tone, Aya Fian is amazing. She can compete with our family's Rui in business. She looks pretty, but her methods are like a wolf's. In the future, the Qin family's business status in Haiqing goes without saying. As for this, I can't help but admire them. But at the end of the day, they don't touch women. As Chinese, we still pay attention to our roots. Only Xiao is like this. Why do you want to marry Fei Yu to the Pei family in the south? You should have kept Fei Yu as a grandson-in-law. At least leave him with the surname Qin. Qin Rongfang was directly angered by Master Jiang on the big day. His eyes rolled back and he was about to fall back. Master Jiang's expression changed. He hurriedly strode over and supported Qin Rongfang's back. Looking at Qin Rongfang's trembling lips, he slowly laid him flat on the sofa. Although he was old, Qin Rongfang's body was very light. Thinking that everyone was old, Master Jiang's heart ached. Old Qin. Old Qin. I was just joking, old Qin. Qin Rongfang's breathing was uneven. You old fart, you wanna anger me to death. Master Jiang was so regretful that his intestines turned green. They had been old friends for decades, but he was always poking at each other's shortcomings. At home, he taught his descendants to be open-minded. Why couldn't he do it when it came to Qin Rongfang? Old Qin, I was just joking. We've been fighting for so many years. When have we not been like this? I'll call the doctor right away. Don't call to me. My Qin family has no descendants. I don't want to live. Call the doctor. I don't want treatment. Qin Rongfang slowly closed his eyes. Tears fell from Master Jiang's eyes. Old Qin, don't think too much. I told Zhao Zhao's child to be born with the surname Qin. You were the one who raised Zhao Zhao, so I shouldn't steal your credit. The first child born with Zhao Zhao should have the surname Qin after you. It should be surnamed Qin. It's all thanks to you. I don't believe you. You old fox. I don't believe you. I won't cooperate with the doctor. Little Lu. Little Lu. Master Jiang quickly called Mama Lu. She hurriedly called Mama Lu over. Go. Go find Zhao Zhao. Mama Lu immediately turned around and ran to find Jiang Zhao. Yi Er had just been picked up by the makeup artist and sent to Jiang Zhao's villa. They were about to go through the process of picking up the bride. When he heard that Qin Rongfang had collapsed, Jiang Zhao threw away the tie in his hand and ran to Master Jiang's room. Old Madam was busy in the backyard and didn't know anything. Welfare Hongcha 866. Chapter 728. The moment Jiang Zhao entered the old master's room, he saw the old man lying on the sofa. His grandfather was wiping his tears. Jiang Zhao's heart trembled. Grandpa! The sound of irritable leather shoes stomping on the wooden floor could be heard. When old Master Jiang saw Jiang Zhao running over, he seized the opportunity and said in a trembling voice, Zhao Zhao, let me tell you. Your first child with Yi Er will have the surname Qin. Quickly agree to your grandfather's request. It's all my fault. It's all my fault. Tell me he's already so old. How can he withstand anger? Quickly agree to his request. Otherwise he won't go to the hospital. This can't be delayed. Jiang Zhao did not allow for any explanation and immediately nodded. Okay. Grandpa, if your surname is Qin, then it's Qin. Let's go to the hospital, let's go to the hospital. Qin Rongfang's weak eyelids opened a little more and looked at old Master Jiang. Old fart, do you mean what you said? Of course. If I don't, then all the grandsons of the Jiang family are cowards. Is that okay? This was something that old Master Jiang was proud of. The fact that he could use it to make a bet meant that he would never go back on his word. Who would have thought that Qin Rongfang's listless eyes would suddenly become full of vigor in front of everyone's eyes? Then he slowly sat up and patted his clothes. Since we've already agreed, then let's get ready. Although there are many people today, we can't make any trouble. Old Master Jiang Zhao, and the servants who had rushed over in a panic were dumbfounded and confused. What did it mean to be disrespectful as an old man? This was it. Old Master Jiang was so angry that his face turned green. He stood up and pointed at Qin Rongfang, who was still sitting there leisurely. He almost vomited blood. Qin Rongfang. You old fart, you're disrespectful as an old man. Qin Rongfang's face was glowing. He stood up slowly and smiled gracefully. He grabbed old Master Jiang's hand and said with emotion, Old Jiang, you're so literary. The idiom, disrespectful as an old man, is engraved on my forehead. But there's also an idiom that all's fair in war. Didn't you used to fight in the army? Those badges on your chest must have been bought from a street stall. Alas, Master Jiang was so angry that he waved Qin Rongfang's hand away in disgust. You old B*****, how dare you set me up? Qin Rongfang laughed heartily. He was much more energetic than the average old man. Jiang Zhao finally understood. Could it be that these two old men had just put on a wonderful show together? It didn't matter to him who the child took the surname of. Then let's go have breakfast together? Jiang Zhao breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, it was just a joke. If something had really happened to his grandfather's body, he would have made a mess today. Grandfather? Qin Rongfang pulled Jiang Zhao and walked out. Good grandson, let's go and eat. Ignore him. He's throwing a tantrum. He's already so old and he doesn't care about his image at all. Old Master Jiang followed them and pulled Qin Rongfang and Jiang Zhao's hands away. He shouted, "Qin, you tell me. Who doesn't care about their image? Who didn't care about their image just now?" Jiang Zhao had one head and two heads. These two people had never had enough of messing around in their lives. Every time they met, they would quarrel. It was really annoying. Jiang Zhao sighed and bowed deeply to the two old men. His words were sincere and pitiful. "Two ancestors, your grandsons are getting married today. Can you be magnanimous and do us the honor of having a peaceful meal together?" Old Master Jiang snorted. When he passed by Zhao Zhao, he said, "I'll find a woman to rape Fian. If Fian has a child, I won't allow Zhao Zhao's child to take the surname Qin." He thought that Qin Rongfang would refute, but he reached out and hugged Old Master Jiang's arm. He laughed and flattered him. "Then I'll leave it to you, old brother." Old Master Jiang's face darkened and he glared at Jiang Zhao. "You do this?" "Ah." Jiang Zhao was speechless. "Today is my wedding. Do these two people have to do this to me?" "Grandpa Sijia has already boarded the plane with Mom and Dad. Have you arranged for someone to pick them up?" It's been arranged. "Really, what's keeping you so busy?" Jiang Zhao smiled. Sister Jin said that she was taking Sijia on a trip. Brother Lai Qing followed them for their honeymoon. How could he be free? According to the old tradition, they had to snatch the bride. The bridegroom's motorcade was mighty and powerful. Not only was the team powerful, but they were also all luxury cars. Jiang Zhao wanted to keep a low profile and also planned to keep a low profile. After all, his background was in high city. However, as soon as Jiang Rui waved his arm, his friends all joined the team to pick up the bride. The domineering black luxury cars formed a line and moved forward on the city road next to each other. The awesome luxury cars showed off their prowess, and the awesome license plates dazzled everyone. The drivers were either handsome men or beautiful women. They were either dignified or sloppy. Wow, it's so eye-catching. I'm afraid that all the handsome men and beauties in Jiang District are in this motorcade, right? That's right. Young Master's younger brother is getting married. Who doesn't give face to him? Oh, it's a pity that I can't eat it. It's so uncomfortable. Jiang Zhao's wedding in High City was considered an engagement. He didn't have enough preparation. At this time, he finally tasted the vanity that he only had when he got married. "Ah, I finally got married." Just as he was thinking happily, his phone rang. "Bridesmaid?" Yes, the bridesmaid arrived at Xia Qian in the middle of the night. "Hello, Qian Qian." Jiang Zhao. What's wrong?" No, I'm afraid that this wedding won't happen. Xia Qian. If you dare to speak nonsense today, I won't give your brother-in-law any face. He was furious. The Xia Qian was really stupid. It was his wedding day and she was making a fuss about not getting married? No, we really can't get married. Get lost. Jiang Zhao was really angry. He put the phone away and pressed the button to hang up. After 2 seconds, the phone rang again. The veins on Jiang Zhao's forehead were throbbing. As the best man, Qin Fian nudged Jiang Zhao. "Brother, answer it." Jiang Zhao picked up. "Xia Qian. I'll change you immediately." Jiang Zhao. Yer can't take it anymore. She's vomiting on the bed and can't get up. She can't even drink water now. Her throat is bleeding. What should we do? Jiang Zhao tightened his grip on the phone. He anxiously tugged at his bow tie and said to the driver, "Don't set up a formation. Stick it in when you see a gap. Hurry up." He turned around and asked Xia Qian impatiently, "What did you say? She's vomiting so badly?" Xia Qian was so anxious that she stomped her feet. "It's true. Her face is white. I said to send her to the hospital, and they said to feed her some saline and positive energy solution. It's probably because there are too many people in the house. They said it's not auspicious to send her to the hospital. What should we do?" Jiang Zhao slammed his large palm on the dashboard in front of him. "Why are you so stupid? Of course we should send her to the hospital. But I've never been married. Why should I be worried about auspiciousness? I don't know. Those people seem to be very experienced." I. Jiang Zhao called his grandfather. When the traffic light turned green, he wanted to open the car door and leave. He was so anxious that his insides were on fire. "Grandpa, hurry up and call a few of the old maids at home and send Yi Er to the hospital. She's already vomiting. Who cares if it's auspicious or not?" Grandpa Lu held the phone and immediately comforted him. Zhao, don't be anxious. Grandpa will call the doctors here. Don't be anxious. You're already an adult." Jiang Zhao kept urging the driver to hurry up and complained, "How can I not be anxious? This is my wife, not someone else's wife. If it were someone else's wife, I wouldn't be anxious either. Grandpa Lu was still angry in the morning. When he heard his usually filial grandson talking incoherently, he suppressed his anger. Okay. Grandpa will call the military vehicles to send the alarm over. It'll be quick. Grandpa will hang up now. Yi got up very early that day. Grandma Lu reminded her to get up early as she would be very tired. She wanted to prepare some food for the newlyweds. She looked at the glutinous rice balls, dumplings, wontons, porridge, bread and cakes. She didn't want to eat any of them. Nanny Lu kept persuading her not to eat. She would be too tired if she didn't eat. The last time Jianghu got married, Xiang Wan was already exhausted. Yi ate some porridge and didn't want to eat any dishes. She endured it when she was putting on makeup. She endured it when she was in the car. When they arrived at Jiang Zhao's villa, she endured it when Nanny Lu talked about the rules of Jiang district. In the end she couldn't stand it anymore. She vomited all the food. She vomited so much that her throat seemed to have grown something. She couldn't spit anything out. Even swallowing her saliva hurt her throat. When Jiang Zhao arrived, the doctor was measuring Yi's blood pressure. Yi was so weak that her legs felt like jelly. Nanny Lu said that she would be so tired that she would feel weak. However, she didn't expect that she would feel weak even before they officially started. Jiang Zhao pushed the doctor away and carried Yi who had already put on the wedding veil. Let's go to the hospital. Put her down. The doctor immediately stopped him. Jiang Zhao could only put Yi on the bed. The doctor asked carefully. What did you eat this morning? Porridge. When Yi thought of porridge, she began to retch again. She vomited so much that her eyes rolled back. At this time there was nothing left to vomit. The pain in her throat was unbearable. She vomited until it tore and some blood streaks came out. Jiang Zhao looked at his grandfather's doctor who was so calm. He could only anxiously look for water or tissues. There was nothing he could do. Xia Qian asked everyone to leave the room. She wanted to get some fresh air. Jiang Zhao and Yi had eaten together in the morning. The food in the Jiang family couldn't be unclean. Everyone was fine. He frowned and said to the doctor, everyone ate together. She's the only one who vomited. It can't be that the food is unclean. It's more important to go to the hospital. Let's do a urine test. The doctor said abruptly. Jiang Zhao said. Yi pressed on her sore throat. Urine test. Xia Qian asked. Urine test. Qin Fian followed. Yes. What if it's a pregnancy reaction? Yi's face was a little red. The old doctor was a man, so he was a little embarrassed. He wanted to say something, but his throat was too painful from vomiting too many times. When he spoke, his ears hurt. Jiang Zhao saw that Yi was anxious, so he said, it's impossible. She's on time. Her period will come the day after tomorrow. Qin Fian looked at Jiang Zhao meaningfully. Yi's face turned even redder. There were so many people. But he had been keeping track of her safe period so that he didn't bring a condom when he did it. The doctor shook his head. Some pregnant women will have a violent reaction when they're in bed. Which one of you can go and buy a pregnancy test? Xia Qian answered even faster than Jiang Zhao. She was even excited. I'll go. Then she ran out. Xia Qian had always been fast and efficient, but when she came back, everyone felt that her condition hadn't improved. In a small plastic bag there was a bag of test papers. There were 2 or 3 test papers of each brand. She said, there's bound to be one that's not fake. There's bound to be one that's accurate. It'll definitely tell that she's pregnant. It was so shocking. Jiang Zhao didn't think there was a need for a test. He remembered that there was medicine in Yi's drawer. In order to prevent her from taking it, he was careful and took precautions. It was impossible for her to be pregnant. Sending her to the hospital was the most important thing. But he couldn't stop the doctor. It wasn't until Yi came out of the bathroom with a 2-bar test strip and showed it to the doctor that Jiang Zhao felt his ears buzzing. Xia Qian hugged Yi and shook her. See, I told you. Take the most expensive one. It'll definitely be accurate. The expensive one definitely won't be fake. Everyone looked at her. What kind of logic was that? Jiang Zhao pulled Xia Qian away and placed the pale and weak Yi on the bed. He glared at Xia Qian. Why are you shaking her? Look at how weak she is. His heart ached as he touched Yi's face. She had vomited so much that she couldn't speak. Let me get you 2 mint candies. Does your throat hurt a lot? Yi shook her head. But in her heart she thought, I'd better slit her throat. Forget it. Even swallowing her saliva hurts. It's better not to eat anything heavy with mint right now. It's very dangerous, the doctor said calmly. Jiang Zhao sat by the bed and watched as his wife rubbed her neck. He knew that she was extremely uncomfortable, but he was still overjoyed by the news that she was pregnant. His hand rested on Yi Er's abdomen. He desperately tried to sense if there was anything beating, but for a moment he couldn't say a single word of comfort. Hey Jiang Zhao, are you kicking me to the curb after I've outlived my usefulness? I was the one who bought the authentic test paper. Otherwise, do you think you'd be able to test it? I went to 3 pharmacies, afraid that I'd buy a fake product. Even if I didn't take credit, I still worked hard. I didn't even ask you to give me a big red packet, yet you're still looking at me with such disdain. Jiang Zhao's ears hurt from listening to her. Xia Qian, if you talk less, I'll give you a big red packet later. Okay. Xia Qian immediately covered her mouth. For the sake of a red packet, what did it matter if she talked less? Moreover, it was a big red packet. Yi Er insisted on attending the wedding. Jiang Zhao gave everyone a red packet, saying that the bride was pregnant and couldn't make a big fuss. He didn't want to do the bride snatching part of the ceremony. On the wedding stage, the MC understood the situation and only asked the groom questions. The bride stood at the side and nodded meekly or said a few words occasionally. Everyone else thought it was a fly in the ointment, but the groom didn't seem to care. He gently stroked the bride's shoulder and was in a state of surprise and joy. Finally, he held the microphone and couldn't help but laugh wildly. Today I'll treat everyone to my wedding banquet. In 11 months, I'll treat everyone to my baby's 1-month-old celebration. After a moment of shock, the audience applauded and cheered. Yi Er was wearing a pure white wedding dress. When she lowered her head, the veil covered her cheeks. Her hand was on her belly. She had been able to hold it in, but in this atmosphere, Jiang Zhao's words of happiness and satisfaction made her eyes redden. Tears fell to the ground and seemed to hit her ears with a loud thud. Before it was time for the bride and groom to hug, she threw herself into the man's arms and squeezed her throat hard to suppress the pain. She sobbed with jealousy and said softly, "Ah Zhao, you're pregnant. You can't not love me." "How can I not love you? I'll only love the baby if I love you." The handsome man's eyes were gentle. He held the tearful woman's head and kissed her forehead. Then he said in a low and hoarse voice, unable to hide his emotions, "Silly girl, I'll only love our baby if I love you. Xiaoye," and, dearest, the ending of Xiaoye's story ends here. Beauty novel Xinwu 799. Chapter 729. Xia Qian was the prettiest and dumbest of the bridesmaids. Qin Fian was the prettiest and most famous of the groomsmen. The worst part was that she didn't let the other bridesmaids drink the wine and drank it all by herself. Her hair covered her forehead, and her hair hung down and wrapped around her face, making her oval-shaped face look a little smaller. She drank until her whole face was red. From time to time she would stick out her tongue because of the spiciness of the white wine. She would slap her own tongue looking very cute. But she couldn't speak. Once she spoke, her cuteness would be ruined. "Ah, this wine can't be fake, right? Didn't the wine in the advertisements say that it's mellow and fragrant? Why do I feel like there's capsaicin in it?" Everyone was speechless. Old Master Zhang's grandson was holding a banquet. Would he buy fake wine? The most famous of the bridesmaids always threw a glance at him, and the others all treated him like a groom and served him. They even swept the wine away for him. The groomsmen's suits were all Armani. Qin Fian had a beautiful and charming face, but the eyes behind his refined glasses were always shining like a fox's. From time to time, he would reach out to push the glasses on his nose and stay far away from the women. He was very good at avoiding alcohol. When it came to greeting, he would immediately pull out the groomsmen behind him. "Let me introduce you. This is XX's son XX. He works in XX's industry." The topic was immediately brought up and he retreated to the side. For the whole night, unless it was someone he was very close to, he didn't drink a single glass. He was really the most famous groomsman. So when the banquet ended, Xia Qian was like a dead pig, and Qin Fian was the only sober one among the drunk people. Xia Qian always felt that there was a heroic spirit in her bones, just like the chivalrous heroes in Jin Yang's novels. There was a kind of bravery and fierceness when seeing injustice and a hero who hated evil. She couldn't stand Qin Fian's coquettish look. Look at him smiling like that. He was a vixen. He was a good man who was better looking than women. How could those women who skinned their faces and had their eyes and noses done for the sake of their looks endure? Xia Qian had thought about plastic surgery countless times because her nose was not as perky as her sister's and Yi Er's. However, she had only thought about it and did not put it into action. Her sister and Yi Er always said that it was fine and that they looked very comfortable together. After seeing Qin Fian, she felt that her sister and Yi Er were actually giving him too much sympathy in their words of consolation. Qin Fian's appearance was a blow to her self-esteem as a woman, so she often wanted to cut off a part of his face and paste it on her own face. She didn't like him just because he was beautiful. This man was evil. Last time at the swimming pool, he had ruined her reputation. Even a hero should take revenge. Knowing that Qin Fian hated women touching him, Xia Qian was so drunk that she hugged Qin Fian's neck and refused to let go. Jiang Zhao couldn't do anything about it. He couldn't wake Xia Qian up no matter how hard he tried. Qin Fian hated Xia Qian to the core. This woman had bitten him with the same mouth that she had eaten stinky tofu. She had taken off his pants. Now, she was taking advantage of his brother's wedding to get physical with him. There were a few times when he didn't have to look at everyone. He had viciously pinched Xia Qian's waist as if he wanted to pick up a small piece of meat, pinch it a few times, then pull it out of her body and throw it away. Xia Qian was in so much pain that her heart was scratching. She cursed in her heart, "Qin Fian, you bastard." In front of all the guests, Qin Fian made a fool of himself because he couldn't get rid of a drunk woman hanging around his neck. When grandfather Jiang found out that Yi Er was pregnant, he was afraid that Qin Rongfang would steal his great-grandson's surname. Some words once spoken couldn't be taken back. Seeing a girl hanging around Qin Fian, grandfather Qin Fian kept persuading him from the side, saying that men should pay attention to their manners and give way to girls. At the very least, he had to give them some basic respect. Moreover, this girl was drinking for Yi Er today. In the end, she didn't do it on purpose. She was quite loyal. Qin Fian was choked to death by grandfather Jiang. If they weren't in the Jiang family's territory and grandfather Jiang hadn't been in front of him, he would have kicked this woman to death. Qin Rongfang saw that grandfather Jiang was very attentive and let him do as he pleased. Other young masters were very strict about their private lives, afraid that they would cause trouble if they went out to play with women with no status. But he was different. Qin Rongfang felt that he was quite not easy. He didn't have any more wishes in this life. As old Jiang said, he just wanted to find a woman to rape his grandson. No matter what the woman's family background was, as long as she could move, get pregnant and give birth to children, it was fine. Now he couldn't wait for his grandson to go out and mess around. So be it. As long as he didn't continue to mess around with men, it was fine. Fian Shaoxia is also drinking for Yi Er. Your brother is really tired from taking care of your sister-in-law today. You are his brother, so please bear with him. Send Shaoxia back to the hotel. Qin Fian kept raising his neck in disgust, afraid that his chin would touch Xia Qian's head. Her sister is here. Jiang Zhao had already asked someone to send Yi Er back. He was here greeting the guests and sending them off. Seeing Fian's sorry state and hearing grandfather's words, he came over and patted Qin Fian's shoulder. I said that we're not going to mess around with the bridal chamber today. Xiaoya and Yichen have already gone out to play. Send them off. Qian Qian doesn't know anyone else. Just send her off on account that she is your sister-in-law's good friend. Qin Fian was speechless. Don't the Jiang family have servants? Why are you asking me to send her off? Qin Rongfang stood in the same place. Just send her off. If you don't send this girl off, who will? Who isn't busy today? You're so free. Why can't you help your brother send the guests off? What kind of brother are you? Jiang Zhao had become a father. He was grinning all the time. In such a mood, he really didn't have any intention of scolding others. Fian, grandfather is right. Help me send her off. Look how long this girl has been hanging on you. She won't budge no matter how hard she tries. Are you going to sleep here? Although Xia Qian knew that she had to discuss Qin Fian, she just hung on his neck for the sake of hanging on. She didn't have much consciousness. After all, she had drunk too much. When Qin Fian got her into the car, she collapsed in the back like a dead pig. When Qin Fian got out of the car, he immediately called the security guards to pull her away. Xia Qian seemed to have sensed it. She jumped up and pushed open the car door. She staggered to catch up with Qin Fian and hung on him. After hanging up, she wanted to sleep again. Her head was hurting badly. In the end, Qin Fian sent Xia Qian back to the hotel as promised. But the moment the door opened, Xia Qian suddenly felt nauseous. She pulled Qin Fian's shirt and vomited everything she had drunk that night. It was all because of her flirtatious behavior. Who asked a certain someone to loosen 3 buttons? Qin Fian only felt a heat in his chest and stomach. Then there was a terrible stench. His shirt wasn't tucked into his pants. The filth all flowed down his stomach and stained his pants and shoes. Behind the refined glasses, his phoenix eyes were wide open. His piercing gaze was piercing. He wanted to kill someone. Holding his breath, he was about to push the woman away when Xia Qian pulled Qin Fian's shirt again. Wah! Walala, she vomited everything again. Hongcha 866. Chapter 730. Qin Fian's breath collapsed at this moment, but just as he was about to vomit, he suddenly wanted to take revenge. He wanted to pull open the bridesmaid's dress and vomit, only to find that all the bridesmaids today were wearing strapless dresses. What was a strapless dress? It meant that the chest area was tightly covered, or the dress would fall off. Moreover, today's bridesmaids' dresses were custom-made. They were tailor-made, not elastic. They were tight-fitting and had a zipper at the back, so Qin Fian did something that he had never done before in his life. That was when he imitated Xia Qian and pulled open her collar, only to find that it was too tight. He wanted to throw up, so when he got angry he dug his hands into Xia Qian's chest and pulled hard on her collar. Rip! Rip! The sound of fabric tearing rang out in the quiet corridor. Qin Fian wanted to vomit on Xia Qian's body as he wished when he saw a pair of snow-white breasts in front of him. They weren't big but they were firm. After he pulled down the bridesmaid's dress, he leisurely slid it down the woman's body. He actually reached his hands so deep that he even tore off her nipples. Qin Fian was stunned. He wanted to vomit but he couldn't. He saw that Xia Qian was swaying and couldn't stand properly, so he hurriedly turned his face away. However, when he heard the door lock click, he immediately opened Xia Qian's door and leaned it against the magnet. Resisting the urge to vomit, he retreated out of the room and kicked Xia Qian's butt as fast as he could, trying to kick her back into the room. Xia Qian's dress was already torn. At this time it slid down to her waist. The dress that originally reached her calves was now dragging on the floor. Qin Fian kicked her forward. She fell forward as if she was weightless. Her feet stepped on the fabric. She wasn't used to wearing high heels, so she was pulled and scratched. Finally, she was successfully tripped into the room. With a dull thud, Xia Qian's nose hit the carpet and she landed face first on the floor. Qin Fian grabbed Xia Qian's arm and dragged her in like he was dragging a dead pig. Then he slammed the door shut. The woman was thrown on the floor. Qin Fian went into the bathroom, threw away his clothes and took a shower. Outside, she could still hear Qin Fian's voice on the phone. Hurry up. Send it over. Yes, tell him my measurements. Xia Qian woke up, but the first thing that came to her mind was her face. She was half naked, she touched her face. God. My nose isn't high? My nose too's even flatter now? Do I have to be reconstructed? I really have to get plastic surgery this time. Until she heard Qin Fian taking a shower in the bathroom and making a phone call. She was shocked to the point she shocked to find herself naked to the floor to get to her to the floor. She was to the shocked, she screamed to be. She was still sitting by the door and half of her dress was stuck at the foot of the door. Xia's to wakes to Qin? To it to the? Qin Fian. This beast. That. He was gay and he wanted to molest her. She tugged at the dress but it wouldn't budge. She got up and opened the door a little to relieve the pressure on the dress. However, she realized that the dress she pulled in was smelly and dirty. It was disgusting because of the vomit on the floor outside the door. Xia Qian was already feeling nauseous from the alcohol. When she saw the dress in her hands, she couldn't help but vomit. The room, which didn't smell strange, was suddenly filled with a nauseating smell. At the entrance was the hotel's wardrobe. Xia Qian hurriedly opened the wardrobe door. There were clean robes hanging in the wardrobe, one for men and one for women. She shook her head and grabbed the smaller one. Her head cleared a little, but her steps were unsteady. She pinched her nose and stared at the bathroom door with anger. She pressed the door lock and pushed the door open. She was stunned. She was really stunned. Xia Qian asked herself, Xia Qian, have you seen a handsome man come out of the shower? She shook her head and answered herself, no. Xia Qian, have you seen a naked handsome man come out of the shower? She shook her head, no. Xia Qian, have you seen a naked handsome man come out of the shower with well-proportioned muscles and 8-pack abs? She shook her head, no. Xia Qian, have you seen a naked handsome man come out of the shower with 8-pack abs and skin so fair that it turned pink in the hot water? She shook her head hard, I really haven't, God. Xia Qian, have you ever seen a handsome man who is not only naked, but also wearing nothing under his abs? He's like a black forest, and he even has that magical thing that's thrown right in front of you after he comes out of the shower? She shook her head hard and said bitterly, kill me, I really haven't. So take a look. So be it if you get a needle eye. It's okay. She nodded. Okay, I'll take a look then. Xia Qian swallowed her saliva, almost choking on it. Qin Fian didn't know that Xia Qian had done so many things in such a short time. He only saw her shaking her head and blinking her eyes as if she couldn't see clearly. Then she shook her head again. He turned off the water, grabbed a bath towel and wrapped himself up. Did you take ecstasy? Or did your brain have a cramp? You're not showering anymore? Xia Qian had already forgotten that her original intention was to get even with Qin Fian. She felt a little regretful. She had never seen a naked man in her life, and the first time she saw him, he gave her such a big meal. He was a perfect combination of fat and thin and looked delicious. She wondered if he would taste the same when she ate him. Forget about eating, it was a pity that he was gay. She really envied him. However, this man had such a slender and muscular body. His abdominal muscles, arms and chest were obviously well trained. Why would a little bottom like him need to train such seductive muscles for no reason? But if he was really a top, wouldn't it be a waste to look so small? After seeing Qin Fian's naked body, Xia Qian made a decision to not go against him anymore. Okay. Qin Fian didn't want to say too much to Xia Qian. He was very calm, but his expression betrayed him. He looked like a thin-skinned person who was blushing in embarrassment. Hey, don't be shy. It's not the first time I've seen you. Last time at the swimming pool, didn't I take off your pants? There's nothing strange about it. You can be more generous. Xia Qian swore to the heavens that she said those words to comfort the thin-skinned handsome man. She didn't have any bad intentions. Although she really wanted him to continue looking. Qin Fian had already walked in front of Xia Qian. His face was a little red and now it was a little dark. If there was any change, it would be that he raised his almond-shaped eyes and smiled. He held the glasses that he used to pretend to be refined, raised his leg and kicked Xia Qian in the stomach. Xia Qian was kicked out of the door. She staggered back and hit the wall opposite the bathroom door. Ouch! Qin Fian. After crying out in pain, she gritted her teeth and said, God, I think I've been kicked twice today. She watched as Qin Fian retreated into the bathroom and came out after a while. Qin Fian smelled the vomit in the corridor. He gritted his teeth and glanced at Xia Qian. His voice wasn't loud, but it was very harsh. Yes, I kicked both times. The first time I kicked your butt and the second time I kicked your stomach. How unlucky. I was wearing shoes for the first kick and I kicked you barefoot for the second. God. Was my head caught in the door just now? I have to find a physiotherapy shop today and peel off the layer of skin on my feet. Qin Fian said as he walked into the room. As he walked, he couldn't believe it and shook his head in annoyance. Xia Qian was really shocked. She remembered that someone had kicked her but just now. At that time she wasn't very clear-headed, but now she was very clear. She wanted to take revenge, but when she saw Qin Fian's attractive back, she swallowed her saliva shamelessly. She wanted to scold him, but she softened her tone. That's why it's said that women are dangerous and sensual. With such a big piece of meat dangling in front of you, you have to have the ability to be calm even if you want to. You're a man. At the very least, you should have the demeanor of a gentleman, right? Qin Fian took his phone and threw it on the bed. He didn't seem to mind that Xia Qian was drooling over his meat, but he was extremely irritated. He sent a text message and urged her to change her clothes. The corner of his mouth lifted and he sneered, Gentlemen? Is this the first time you found out that I'm gay? Have you seen me being a gentleman to women? Do you think you're a handsome man? Apart from your flat chest, which part of this cement board is comparable to a handsome man? Xia Qian hugged her arms and tightly covered her chest. Qin Fian. You bastard. You'll shine if I give you some sunshine, right? You're pushing your luck, aren't you? The man said disdainfully, if you have the ability, why don't you show off your chest for everyone to evaluate? Is it like a cement board? Men who train their muscles are more developed than yours, right? Xia Qian felt that she was going crazy. It was true. Although she was still a virgin, she was still a fujoshi. It was impossible for her to be ignorant of everything. What was the difference between attacking a woman's chest and attacking a man's JJ size? It was fine if she was constantly attacked by Yier, but now that she was being attacked by a man, the feeling was too different. Xia Qian felt that it was very ungentlemanly to use force against a half-naked handsome man. As a tomboy she should give in to such a handsome man. Hence, she calmed herself down before walking to Qin Fian's bedside. Qin Fian, how do you know that my chest is not as developed as a muscular man's? Qin Fian had already sent the text message. At this moment he was shaking the phone in his hand. His two long legs were crossed, shaking his feet. He pursed his lips. I was the one who opened your clothes just now. Didn't you notice that you're naked? God. Luckily, I'm gay and didn't do anything to you. It wasn't a big blow to you. If a man who likes women saw you lying there naked, I'm afraid he would be very gentlemanly and send you home. Xia Qian was wearing a loose robe. She was so angry that she couldn't say a word. Besides her breathing, she couldn't hear anything. In a fit of anger, she pulled open her collar and lowered her head to take a look. Indeed, it was too small. Qin Fian looked at Xia Qian's unrestrained actions. His almond-shaped eyes widened, and he choked and hiccuped. Xia Qian looked at Qin Fian more and more fiercely. Not only did this man kick her butt, but he also kicked her stomach. Awesome novel. Songshu 566. Chapter 731. If he hadn't used his beauty to delay her revenge, she would have beaten him up by now. She had wanted to let him off, but he didn't know what was good for him and insisted on going against her. Not only that, he had actually attacked her in an exaggerated manner. Although it wasn't as big as Yi Er's, it was definitely better than a man with chest muscles. This kind of attack was clearly a bloody sale, a dumping of goods regardless of the cost. Xia Qian rolled up her sleeves and knelt on the bed. Qin Fian, I'm your sister. If I let you off today, my surname won't be Xia anymore. Just you wait, I'm going to explode your orange blossoms today. You shameless homosexual. You're a weakling who deserves to be exploded. Before Xia Qian could put her words into action, the doorbell rang. Qin Fian calmly gestured at Xia Qian with his chin. You dirted my clothes with your vomit just now. Now that the person who delivered the clothes is here, go get them for me. The corners of Xia Qian's mouth twitched. Did this guy mean that he would punish her first? Then he would enslave her to do things for him. Only then did she realize that she really did vomit on his clothes. She felt a little sorry and wanted to pay for it. Qin Fian got off the bed and whispered, Forget it. You must have touched it. It must be dirty. He walked past her to open the door. The smelly dress at the door made Qin Fian's expression darken. However, he kept reminding himself that this was Jianghu district, not High City. Xia Qian was his sister-in-law's friend. If he wanted to mess with her, he had to go back to High City. If word got out that he messed with her in Jianghu district, people would say that the Jianghu family wasn't very kind. Therefore, Qin Fian endured the stench and went into the bathroom to change his clothes. He didn't even say goodbye to Xia Qian until he left. Just as Qin Fian went into the bathroom to change his clothes silently, a certain idiot had already fallen asleep on the bed. She didn't even cover herself with the blanket. The next morning, when Xia Qian woke up, she suddenly remembered everything that had happened last night. She stood on the bed and jumped up and down, shouting, Qin Fian, a feud has been formed. Wait and see. Exploding your orange blossoms is my only wish in this life. The day after Yi Er's pregnancy, the Jiang family arranged for her to have an ultrasound to confirm that she was really pregnant. After Yi Er got pregnant, Jiang Zhao's heart. Yi Er was aware of Jiang Zhao's kindness, but she couldn't accept that. Ah, I'm not the one who's pregnant. I'm the one who made my wife pregnant. What do you think? Xiang Wan, who was looking for books for Yi Er, couldn't bear to hear that Jiang Zhao had the upper hand over Jiang Rui. Hence, she said with a smile, it's a woman's ability to have twins. If you don't provide 2 eggs, will your twins fall from the sky? So don't make it sound as if you're so great because Yi Er is pregnant with twins. It's all because Yi Er is great. Jiang Zhao choked at first, but then he laughed. Yes, it's because my wife is capable. Look, I've married such a capable wife. This is such a great thing. You really know how to flatter yourself. Xiang Wan had already found all the books and tied them up. Take them and read them. Jiang Zhao held the books in his hands and looked at the bundle of books about pregnancy. His eyes felt bitter and he adjusted his position and attitude. Thank you, sister-in-law. Look, I told you to buy them, but you insisted that I come to Snow Garden to get them. I tested these books first. I found them for Yi Er after I found them useful. If you go to the bookstore to buy them, you won't know how to choose. Okay. Then I have to thank sister-in-law even more. After returning to Haiqing, Jiang Zhao read books with Yi Er every day. Sometimes he would explain to Yi loudly, "Honey, look. It's written in the book that the best age for a man to give birth is 30 years old. For a woman it's 25 years old. The bigger the age difference between a man and a woman, the smarter the baby will be." Yi was sleepy. She vomited less now, but her sleepiness didn't change. "Honey, do you understand what I'm saying? Why did you only say mm? Mm. Hey Yunyi, are you deliberately pretending not to hear what I said? Say it again, I'm listening." "I said that the best age for a man to give birth is 30 years old or later. For a woman it's 25 years old. The baby born this way will be very smart. After 30 years old, men's intelligence will become more mature and can be inherited. This shows that an old man and a young wife are the perfect match. Do you understand what I mean?" "Yes." Yi answered him and didn't hear what he said. She only knew that he kept waving at her. "Why isn't this fellow going to work? D*mn. Yinyi. If it weren't for the prenatal education he would have cursed. Was startled by the man's loud and clear voice. She opened her eyes. Wasn't she still lying on the bed? Did he have to work so hard to hug her with one hand and read a book with the other? "Hubby?" Jianghu glared at Yi. When he heard the soft hubby, he lost his temper. Thus he told her what he thought. "The book says that an old man and a young wife are the perfect match. Just like us, although we're 10 years apart, the baby will be very smart." This had always been a barrier in Jianghu's heart. He always felt that this wife couldn't support the family. She was too young and unstable. It was very likely that there would be problems. Now that they had a child, she didn't seem unhappy because of the pregnancy. Yi frowned and said blankly, "Why is it an old man and a young wife? I think I'm a young wife, but I don't think you're old. Everyone says that I look old, but why do you look so young? So handsome?" Jianghu was delighted. He threw the book in his hand and hugged Yi even tighter. "Honey, really? Really? You're really not old? You're really not old." Jianghu sweetly and cheekily placed his face on Yi's shoulder and smiled. Yi was confused. "Why are you so happy when I say you're not old? Didn't they say that an old man and a young wife is better?" Jianghu's face stiffened. He coughed awkwardly and sat up. "I'll go downstairs to cook wontons for you. Sleep for a while more. I'll wake you up later to eat." Xia Qian was still doing her internship. In order to perform well, she went to work early in the morning. She cleaned her colleagues' desks and didn't let go of her superiors' desks. She had read a workplace guide before. The general idea was that it was important to be diligent in a unit. If you showed off too much, you would be easily ostracized. However, Xia Qian neglected that she didn't have anything to show off. It was a terrible thing to work hard in a unit like this, especially for a girl like Xia Qian who came to the office early in the morning to do odd jobs. They were all new colleagues, so they couldn't stand her servile nature. Xia Qian actually didn't know how to socialize. In order to show that she had helped her colleagues, she would often loudly count her contributions, in the morning when there were many people or superiors around. "Xiao Wang, I helped you water your cactus. Xiao Li, your keyboard was too dirty. I helped you pat it and clean it again. Xiao Zhang, I categorized the documents on your desk. Xiao Zhao, I threw away the trash bag under your desk. There were a lot of snacks in it that would attract rats. Director Qian, I cleaned the floor in your office. Xiao Xia, thank you. *CK, my cactus is a cactus. Do you think it's a rose? If you water it every day, do you want it to bloat to death? How can I help you, Qian Qian? *CK, how is my keyboard dirty? Busybody. Xiao Xia, I've really troubled you. Crazy woman, where did the documents offend her? Categorize? Now I can't even figure out how to categorize things. Haha, Qian Qian, thank you so much. Crazy woman, how dare she say that her trash bag attracted rats in front of her superiors? Is this woman a prostitute? Director Qian looked at Xia Qian with satisfaction. Xiao Xia, not bad. It's rare to see a young lady like you nowadays. You're also willing to help others. Now the office is clean every day. Not bad. In my opinion, the cleaning auntie isn't as good as Xiao Xia. There aren't many girls like Xiao Xia. You have a bright future ahead of you. 4 pairs of eyes and 8 shiny knives stabbed at Xia Qian's back. Director Qian continued, it seems that the cleaning auntie can be fired. Our TV station also needs to think of ways to increase revenue and reduce expenditure. Xiao Xia can do these things in the future. Xia Qian was waiting for the compliments happily, but who knew that Director Qian would say something like that? The smile on her face froze. She was so depressed that she wanted to die. The 4 people behind her laughed. None of them were happy. Chen Chen will have to trouble you in the future. Yes. Chen Chen is really our TV station's little bee. Which young lady is like Xiaoxia these days? She's like a reincarnation of Lei Feng. Could it be that Comrade Lei Feng's soul has transmigrated into Xiaoxia's body? Xia Qian felt that her career had suffered a setback. She had been an intern for so long and she was still an intern. Those who had good results had all been promoted. She clearly had a chance. It was just that after the incident at the swimming pool, her career had been progressing with setbacks. There were no setbacks, only more setbacks. Qian Qian wasn't an idiot. At the end of the day, the main culprit was Qin Fian. Qin Fian. Xia Qianyan slumped in her seat. As soon as she heard Qin Fian's name, she saw a beautiful man's face in front of her. His skin was fair and rosy under the hot water. His muscles, his abs, his long legs and the lump between his abs and his long legs. Wow. Xia Qian took a deep breath. She felt something warm flowing out of her nostrils. There was a fishy smell. That liquid flowed through her nose and flowed to her lips. Xiaoxia. What's wrong? You're having a nosebleed. You're having a nosebleed. Xia Qian's eyes widened. She pulled out 2 pieces of tissue and pressed them against her nose. Then, the thoughts that popped up in her head were always different from those of ordinary people. Beauty novel Song Shu 566. Chapter 732. God. I have a nosebleed? Do I have leukemia? I'm so young, how did I get such a disease? God, I just graduated from university, I haven't been promoted, I don't have a boyfriend, I'm still a virgin. How did I get such a terminal disease? She suddenly had a tragic thought. Even if she were to die, she had to kill Qin Fian before she died. Qin Fian was eating breakfast. Just as he drank the milk, he suddenly felt his nose itchy and uncomfortable. He couldn't tell where it was uncomfortable. Anyway. He quickly took a piece of tissue and covered his nose. Achoo. Brother, do you have a cold? Fei Yu also took a piece of tissue from the tissue box on the table. She stood up and walked to Qin Fian's side and helped him wipe his nose. Brother, wear more clothes? It's easy to catch a cold like this. Fei Yu looked at her brother who was wearing flashy pink. A shirt was a shirt. It was said that people who worked had to wear a shirt to look formal. Those who wore a t-shirt to work had no professional ethics. But her brother was wearing a shirt. His chest was bare and his muscles were exposed. She was speechless. Wearing this shirt on him, he had already lost his professional ethics. What are you talking about? I don't have a cold. This girl really knew how to meddle in other people's business. How could he not know if he had a cold? Besides, he exercised every day. How could he feel cold? I'm going to work. Eat slowly. I think someone will scold me. Humph, I've been scolding you every day. Why did you only sneeze today? Qin Rongfang didn't say anything. The porridge in front of him was still very hot. Now that the weather was cold, he didn't want to eat cold food. Eating hot food was more comfortable. He rolled his eyes at Qin Fian. Luckily, I'm not counting on you now. Look at how capable Zhao Zhao is. Little Yi is pregnant with twins. My Qin family has a descendant. Hurry up and get out of my sight. Grandpa, you're so petty. Is just giving birth. Didn't the news say that transsexuals are pregnant? Why don't I get my boyfriend to give birth to one for you to see? Qin Rongfang wasn't so angry at first, but when he heard Qin Fian talk about something he cared about so much and said it so unbearably, he picked up the bowl and threw it at Qin Fian. The old man's hand tilted, and the bowl flew towards Qin Fian. Qin Fian laughed and dodged, but the boiling hot porridge flew towards Fei Yu. Qin Rongfang. Fei Yu saw the porridge zest. She gasped, her mouth open, her eyes wide. Suddenly, a shadow rushed over and hugged speechless in an instant. Boiling hot porridge sprayed all over the person's back. What are you doing here? The young man turned around and looked at Fei Yu. Qin Fian pulled the young man away and looked at Fei Yu. Are you hurt? Fei Yu tilted her head and looked at the young man behind Qin Fian. Brother, the porridge splashed on Feng Sheng's back. I'm fine. The young man looked at Fei Yu, his eyes relieved. He still didn't speak, but the corners of his mouth turned up slightly. He was wearing a normal t-shirt, but because of his tall stature and delicate features, he stood out. Fei Yu went over and took the young man's hand. I'll take you to the doctor at home. What if you're scalded? Without waiting for the others to agree, she dragged the young man away. Qin Fian frowned at the scene in front of him. Grandpa, what should we do? Fei Yu is still young. She's very compassionate. When Qin Rongfang said this, his tone was obviously not good. He doted on Fei Yu a lot. At that time, it was Fei Yu who insisted on bringing this young man back to High City. She cried and made a fuss, saying that it was wrong to leave him in the lurch. If they left, this young man would definitely be stranded on the streets. What would happen if he had no one to rely on? He was still a young man. What would happen if he committed a crime in the future? He promised her that if he brought this young man back, he could be a servant in the Qin family. Fei Yu even gave the mute boy a name, Feng Sheng. She said that it was because he met them at the seaside that he was saved from death's door. There were many beautiful children in ordinary families. But this Feng Sheng, he didn't speak normally and was very submissive. He didn't have the temperament of an ordinary child. At that time he was so seriously injured. It was obvious that it was murder. She didn't know if it was a blessing or a curse to keep such a boy in the Qin family. Qin Fian looked at Feng Sheng and felt a little uncomfortable. In his eyes, Fei Yu was engaged to the Pei family by marriage. Although she was still young, in a few years she would marry into the Pei family. No one could change that. But Fei Yu was too concerned about this Feng Sheng. And this Feng Sheng also seemed to pay special attention to Fei Yu. A boy who looked like he was only 17 to 18 years old, how could he be so scheming? But no matter if Fei Yu was scratched by a cat or frightened by a dog, Feng Sheng would follow her like a shadow. Like today's incident of blocking the porridge, if it was in the past, it would definitely be this older brother. But at that time he didn't react. Feng Sheng was clearly a servant, but he was paying attention to their every move. Just thinking about it made him panic. Fei Yu was usually well-behaved, sensible, and kind-hearted. This was something that everyone in the Qin residence knew. Fei Yu was good to everyone. She had been a nanny in the family for decades, and she was treated like her own granddaughter. She was a girl who was easy to fall in love with. Just by looking at her eyes, one would know that she would not harm anyone. Perhaps he was biased, but after 17 years of living together, he was not a person who was easily deceived. It was just like how his grandfather looked very kind, but in fact he was an old fox. This could not escape his eyes. Qin Fian had a feeling that Fei Yu liked Feng Sheng. At the beginning it might have been sympathy. When he brought her back to High City, it might still be sympathy. But now, Feng Sheng had helped her resolve danger time and time again. Was it still sympathy? It was very easy for women to develop feelings for heroes. But no one could understand Feng Sheng's emotions. He never said a word. If he was told to do something, he would do it obediently. Nodding his head was the most common action. Sometimes, when Feng Sheng did things, there was a sense of accomplishment. Because he didn't act like a servant, but like it. Qin Fian shook his head. He thought about what grandfather said. His sister was still young. Maybe he was overthinking. After a day of work, it was finally time to get off work. Xia Qian drove her second-hand car, humming a little tune. She was an idiot, so she quickly polished off the day's troubles. Rush hour was the main theme of getting off work. For example, traffic jams, rear-end collisions, or car crashes. When Geely encountered the Maybach, must it be Cinderella who bumped into the prince? No. It must be the princess in distress who met the black-hearted sorcerer. The man didn't care if it was rush hour or not. Like a flirtatious model, he leaned against the front of the Maybach. "Miss, compensate me." Xia Qian looked at Qin Fian's flirtatious appearance. The lump between his long legs and abs appeared in front of her eyes again. Ah! Her nose felt hot again. She quickly covered it. Thinking that she had wiped his car, she quickly pulled out a wrinkled $100 bill from her jeans and handed it to him. "Here." Qin Fian looked at her with disdain. $100? Do you think my Maybach is your lousy car? Xia Qian looked at the car behind Qin Fian and felt guilty. She said, "Lousy car? Get your facts straight. My car looks like a BMW from the front and a Mercedes-Benz from the back. The frame is made in China. How can you call such a noble mixed-blood car a lousy car? Don't you know that Chinese and Western medicine are all the rage for cold medicine now? You're a wretch who worships foreign things." Qin Fian wasn't angry. 30,000. Otherwise I'll deduct your driver's license. Do you believe me? 30,000? Why don't you go rob a bank? Ha! The man laughed flirtatiously. Xia Qian spat. "The weather is so cold and you have so much meat. Are you selling meat? You've gone crazy thinking about money. Take it or leave it." Qin Fian looked at Xia Qian as if he was looking at dirt. "If I sell meat, you won't be able to afford it. But if you sell meat, even if it's $1, you won't be able to sell it. So what if I sell meat?" Even if we both sell meat, the value it's not the same. Xia Qian's self-esteem suffered a huge blow. But because of the price, she couldn't retort. Behind them, the loudspeakers were blaring. The road in front of Xia Qian's car was already very empty. She took a few steps forward and pulled open a man's collar. She threw the $100 bill in, turned around, opened the car door and got in. Qin Fian was about to chase after her when Xia Qian quickly stuck her head out of the window. Flirtatious man, let me tell you. My car went to the junkyard during the day. My door handle was pulled by a very dirty cleaner who took out the garbage. Qin Fian's hand that was about to hold the car lock shrank back. Xia Qian took the opportunity to start the car and drive away. Qin Fian's naked body began to dangle in front of Xia Qian again. As she drove, she wiped the blood from her nose. Feeling the threat of death and despair, Xia Qian swore to herself that she would definitely F***ck Qin Fian. If she didn't F***ck Qin Fian, she wouldn't be human in her next life. But Qin Fian had a grudge against her. How could she successfully F***ck him? Knockout drug? No. F***king him while he was unconscious was simply too unexciting. She must F***ck him with an unforgettable orange flower. In his future gay life, he would never forget that a woman named Xia Qian had once given him orange blossoms. This way Xia Qian's spirit would last forever. Xia Qian was a fool. When she felt that she was going to die, she didn't go to the hospital for a checkup. Instead, she thought about how to leave a name for herself after giving birth. When Xia Qian tricked Qin Fian into trusting her in a humble manner and was tied to the hotel bed by Xia Qian, Qin Fian experienced for the first time what it meant to be humiliated. When Qin Fian woke up, the back of his head hurt a lot. He wanted to reach out and rub it, but he found that his left hand couldn't reach the back of his head. His right hand also couldn't reach the back of his head. He wanted to turn over, but it was uncomfortable. Come and see. Songshu 566. Chapter 733. He tried a few more times and realized that his hands were tied behind his back. His feet were also tied. His ears were filled with the sound of bang 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 bang. He suddenly opened his eyes and realized that he was in a hotel bed. A hotel was always the best place in the world to distinguish it from other environments. No matter how cozy the decoration was, a hotel was still a hotel. It gave off a commercial hotel vibe. Following the sound, he found a woman with pear blossom hair fiddling with something in front of the dressing table. Xia Qian. Hey. Xia Qian was fiddling with a bunch of bottles and various utensils. These utensils were not ordinary utensils, but random things bought from a sex shop. When she answered Qin Fian, she was obviously absent-minded. Why did you tie me up? To satisfy you. Xia Qian felt that this man was asking the obvious, so she picked up a bottle of oil. Wait a minute, I'll find some videos to watch. I think it's a bit difficult to understand the things you gay people do. Time is tight, so I might as well learn and do it now. What do you mean by learn and do it now? Qin Fian shuddered. He finally recognized this woman's true nature. What humble acknowledgement of a mistake. What fawning. What grandpa. He even said that he would help her bring something to the hotel. Now she knew that the box of things was clearly the tools on the table, and he had personally helped her bring them up. As soon as the things were put down, she picked up the stick and knocked him out. As the saying goes, a woman's heart is the most vicious. Only women and villains are the hardest to deal with. His hands were tied behind his back and his feet were tied together. This way he could bend his body more comfortably. He tried to untie the rope with his hands behind his back, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't find the knot. At this moment, Xia Qian said with some annoyance, "Popping orange flowers is too complicated. Look, I bought a lot of things but they're too thick. I think it's difficult to put them in your orange flowers." Xia Qian, I'm warning you. Don't mess around. Qin Fian was born a beauty. At this moment, his face was dark and his eyes were sharp. Even though he was tied up, he still revealed a ferocious look as if he wanted to eat someone alive. Xia Qian shrugged her shoulders and spat. Then she deliberately patted her chest and shrank her neck. Yeah, young Master Fei Yin, I'm so scared. Xia Qian, I won't let you live in peace in Sea City. I will personally kill you. Seeking no place to live in peace. Just give him a tomb. If you kill me with your own hands, cremate me and then throw my ashes into the sea. At this point, Xia Qian started humming a song. Cut love into pieces and blow it into the sea. There are many things that can be understood after being washed away by tears. Innocent as I am. Qin Fian struggled to break free from the rope on his back. When he heard Xia Qian singing a Mei song, he wanted to kick him. How naive. That's right, naive my ass. You don't believe that I'm naive? I feel that there's a need for you to understand me. Xia Qian felt that it was a pity that no one could understand her in her lifetime. Her sister loved her, but it was only love. No one understood her. There were many thoughts in her heart that were not understood. She felt that she was very smart, but others thought that she was very stupid and strange. She clearly felt that things were very right, but in the eyes of others, it was very funny and very funny. Why was this? Xia Qian threw the things in her hands away and climbed onto the bed. She slept beside Qin Fian. Qin Fian reflexively leaned back and wriggled a few times with difficulty, distancing himself from Xia Qian. However, Xia Qian domineeringly put her arm through Qin Fian's neck and pulled him into her embrace. She lay on the bed, crossed her legs and patted Qin Fian's face with her other hand. She said very manly, "Be good." Qin Fian almost vomited blood. "Don't King touch me." His face was really green. His eyes were red. He reckoned that his liver was trembling. Xia Qian did not care about this. She felt that she was going to die. What was a dying person afraid of? At worst, you'll let me die a few hours earlier. Leukemia, God. It was scary just thinking about it. In TV shows and novels, when the protagonists got such a disease, they would hide it from everyone and bear the pain alone. Xia Qian felt that at this time, her sentiments had been raised to another level. This noble quality of thinking for others was not something that everyone had. Especially at her age when she was young and beautiful. Who would be like her? She kept the sadness to herself and left the laughter to others. Xia Qian was almost moved by herself. So she used a little more strength in her arms. She still had the ability to deal with a man with 4 limbs tied up. Qin Fian was firmly fixed in Xia Qian's arms. No matter how much he wanted to resist, Xia Qian would not let go. "Qin Fian, I want to talk to you about life." "Talk my ass. I'm not interested. Let me tell you, if you don't untie me, you're dead meat." Xia Qian did not hear the threat and said to herself, "Hey, let me tell you, my sister is my uncle's daughter. She's really good to me and always gave in to me. When I was in junior high, I was much uglier than I am now. My body was full of scars and my classmates laughed at me. She stole second aunt's gold bracelets, gold necklaces and gold rings and sold them. With the money from selling the jewelry, she found some hooligans in our town and beat up all the classmates who laughed at me and bullied me in school. She even said that if anyone dared to bully me in school, she would beat them to death." Xia Qian sniffled. "But that day she helped me vent my anger, but second aunt beat her up too. My aunt couldn't bear to do it, but she had no choice. Second aunt said that she would send her to the police station. Later, eldest aunt gave all the gold that she had brought with her as dowry to second aunt. Only then was the matter settled." Qin Fian was not in the mood to listen to this. "Xia Qian, a scourge like you specializes in harming people. Qiu Xiaoye was blind to help you." Qin Fian felt uncomfortable being strangled by Xia Qian. He wanted to break free, but as the saying goes, 2 fists are no match for 4 hands. Now he could not even stretch out a finger, let alone 2 fists. He opened his mouth and bit down. Who cares what he bit? Xia Qian was shocked by the pain. All the hurt that a literary young woman should have felt disappeared. She reached out and pinched the beautiful man's chin and moved away from herself. She really wanted to draw a turtle on his face or deform it, so that when she looked at a man's face, she would not feel that it was a mistake to be born a woman. The pain in her chest was still there. Fortunately, she was wearing a thick bra with a thick sponge cushion. Was this the help of a flat-chested woman? If a big-chested woman was wearing Lessa's thin bra, she would have lost half her breasts after being bitten by this beast. Faced with another enemy, Xia Qian said sternly, "Qin Fian, you son of a b****. Last time you took off my clothes and tried to molest me. At that time I saw your naked body, so we called it even. But now you're trying to molest me again. How dare you lick my breast?" Qin Fian's mouth was wide open. He couldn't even muster the strength he wanted to muster. Did he hear wrongly? He wanted to molest her? Bah. Also, the woman had said lick, not bite. But he clearly used the word bite. "Why are you opening your mouth so wide? Do you want me to kiss you?" "Why would I kiss you? You're a homosexual. You've kissed a man before and you want me to kiss you? In your dreams." Xia Qian roared righteously. She looked at the beautiful man's face in her hand. "Wow, this mouth is really good. What a seductive little bottom. The heavens are really messing around. It's a pity for such a man to be a bottom. It's a waste of a heavenly gift. How can he be a bottom with such muscles? Her hand was pinched on Qin Fian's face. It was as if her hand was stuck between his teeth, so it was impossible for him to close his mouth even if he wanted to. Qin Fian looked at Xia Qian's perverted eyes and shuddered again. His almond-shaped eyes widened and he looked back. You wanted to kick someone. You wanted to kick someone. You wanted to kill someone. What was this woman doing? She wanted to kiss him. If she dared to kiss him, he would kill her today. The face of the woman in front of him was getting bigger and bigger, getting closer to him. Xia Qian was sucking on Qin Fian's lips. Her tongue reached into his mouth for a moment and then escaped. Qin Fian closed his mouth and was about to bite Xia Qian's lips. Xia Qian knew that she was in danger. She kissed him a few times and quickly ran away. She didn't forget to laugh at him. Look at you. It's not your first time kissing. Why are you so shy? Qin Fian thought about the stinky tofu from last time. He closed his eyes and took a few deep breaths. When he opened his eyes again, he narrowed them. There was an ominous glint in his eyes. He gritted his teeth and said, Xia Qian, remember this. You provoked a man called Qin Fian today. Xia Qian wasn't afraid. She was going to die. What was there to be afraid of? She kissed Qin Fian's face and deliberately swept more saliva on his lips. She even kissed him on the cheek. Then she smeared it all on Qin Fian's face. She chuckled. I'll remember it. I'll remember it until I die. Don't worry, I won't forget you. Dear, do you feel honored? Qin Fian could still feel the woman's saliva on his face. This crazy woman. He aimed at the woman's head and used his strength to knock his head against hers. Ah. Xia Qian let go of Qin Fian and touched her forehead, which was seeing stars. Qin Fian. Xia Qian jumped off the bed angrily and picked up a pair of scissors from the table. It was the pair of scissors that Xiaoye used to cut clothes. She crouched in front of Qin Fian and waved it. Qin Fian. Do you see? Scissors. Our game has begun. Asterisk 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 scissors? Scissors. What was this crazy woman trying to do? Qin Fian had a very bad feeling. If she put scissors on a man's body and said that she wanted to use it, the things she cut would be hair-raising. Xia Qian held the scissors and approached Qin Fian. Don't move. I'll cut your flesh later. If you move on your own, I won't care if you bleed. Awesome novel Songshu 566, that you're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.